on special teams. Brendan says no job has never been too small for him, but Don Whitman and James Curry, I dare say, no job has ever been so big for him today.
Well, the Bombers are looking for big things this afternoon from Brendan Rodgers, and James, they're hoping he can bring the same intensity to his first start at linebacker as he has displayed in his career playing special teams.
Well, he's very happy to get the start this afternoon. He's been one of the best specialty team players in the past 5 years in the CFL, and they're looking for that same spark, and they need it on defense.
Last year, he established a CFL record, 8 special team tackles in a game against the BC Lions. One of the reasons the Calgary Stampeders have given up fewer points this year than any other team is the play of their two corners, Marvin Coleman and Al Jordan.
The most pivotal position on a defense, the corners. And when you have Jordan and Coleman, they knew Coleman was a great specialty team player, and they got Jordan in the dispersal draft from Vegas. They're really excited about the play of these two players on their defense this year, and it's really solidified Calgary.
Reggie Slack will be the starting quarterback this afternoon for Winnipeg, and he hopes to be able to test the two Calgary corners. Mark?
Well, Don, could it be the Bombers are cursed this season for tampering with tradition and changing their uniforms from the old gold? We're calling it the New Jersey Jinx, and it's not just Winnipeg. Look at Ottawa and Toronto since they changed their uniforms. Today, the Bombers will wear their blue home jerseys and blue road pants because they're 2-0 in that competition. They are not superstitious, are they? Coming up on the BF Goodrich TA halftime report this afternoon, the rebel with a cause. Calgary defensive lineman Zreko Zizakovic, football in the trenches, and his life in the fast lane. Late September on the prairies, and we're getting a break in the weather. 15 degrees, the winds gusting from 15 to as high as 30. That could be a problem for the passers and the punters here at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon. Both teams are ready for the opening kickoff. Let's go up to Don and James.
Thank you, Mark. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be kicking off to the Calgary Stampeders. And the Stampeders will have the advantage of that wind blowing out of the south for the opening quarter. Brendan Rodgers, number 35, added to the roster. He knows his task today to play well on special teams and also to help defend against Jeff Garcia and that outstanding passing attack. Loose ball on the opening kickoff as Coleman had some difficulties handling it as that ball took an unusual bounce on the artificial turf, and he was fortunate to get it back just before a Winnipeg Blue Bomber pounced on him. Well, has Jeff Garcia ever posted some impressive numbers since taking over from Doug Flutie? In 4 games, 16 touchdown passes. I think that has far exceeded even the most optimistic expectations for this young man.
Well, it really lets you know how fundamentally sound he is as a quarterback and a great offensive scheme that Calgary possesses.
Tony Stewart, the ball carrier on the very first offensive play for the Stampeders, and Kelly Rush and Stan Mikolas were in on the tackle. This is the way the Stampeders line up offensively. Bruce Beaton has been playing the left tackle position since Bruce Covington went down with an injury. They have great depth along the offensive line. David Sapunja's having an outstanding year. He and Alan Pitts, the 2 leading receivers in the Canadian Football League, and they undoubtedly will see plenty of the football this afternoon. The Stampeders line up in the shotgun. Garcia swings it out to Stewart, and Stewart is going to be very close to a first down. As a matter of fact, he gets it, taking it out of bounds up near the 49-yard line. The Stampeders came into this football game heavily favored, based primarily on their record and their 43-28 win last week. Leonard Johnson moves into a defensive end position. Brendan Rodgers is a starting linebacker, replacing Paul Randolph. And David Poole plays his second game at a corner position. Mark talked about the number of changes that the Bombers have made, and they may be making a couple of more before the season comes to a conclusion. Stewart, for the 3rd consecutive play, is the ball carrier, taking a little swing pass from Garcia. There's also a penalty flag on the play.
Don, what we'll probably get is an ineligible receiver downfield. Bobby Pangelitis was too far downfield on that play, but what Garcia is doing here early in the game is trying to spread this Winnipeg defense with the swing passes out of the backfield. And if you can get those players moving laterally, especially the linebackers, it can create some seams for your slot backs later.
Holding, Calgary number 86, first down repeated.
Holding is the call, and if you're wondering, the league sent out some statistics about the most frequently called infractions, and holding was number one 341 times coming into this weekend. It had been called. Next closest offside at 291.
Well, that's because of those offensive linemen. They love to just cradle people.
It will be 1st and 20 from the shotgun formation. 3 receivers to the left. The pass over the middle to Stewart, and Stewart takes the ball up across the 50 to the 52. Stopped there by Brendan Rodgers and Kelly Rush.
Well, what you get with the adjustment in the linebacking core is they're going to test Brendan Rodgers this afternoon, and rightfully so. That's where Jeff Garcia should go. You see him coming up, making a good hit on Stewart early, but he has to play the entire 60 minutes this afternoon on defense, as well as his specialty team participation.
2nd and 7 for the Stamps. The ball is at the Winnipeg 52-yard line. 3 receivers to the left. Garcia looks over the middle again, and the pass is complete. Pee Wee Smith makes the catch for a Calgary first down at the Winnipeg 47-yard line. On Tuesday in the 43-28 win, the Stampeders, on their very first possession, marched the ball downfield for a touchdown, and they're marching again this afternoon.
Don, in the scheme of things this year for Calgary, Pee Wee Smith has been moved into the boundary, the short side of the field. So he has seen a lot more balls this season thrown in his direction. And with the projection of numbers that he has, he could potentially have his first 1,000-yard season this year.
It is conceivable that Calgary could have 4 receivers with better than 1,000 yards. Sapunjas and Pitts are already over 1,000 yards. Garcia's in trouble, and he took a big hit from K.D. Williams directly in front of the Calgary bench. Williams, because of the injury to Paul Randolph, inserted into a starting position. In many games this year, he is dressed as the DI.
That's what you've been accustomed in the past, seeing Winnipeg linebackers flow from sideline to sideline and lay crushing blows on opposing players. That time, K.D. Williams played it perfectly, broke down, leveled Garcia, stopped Calgary right at the line of scrimmage.
The late penalty flag, and we'll wait for referee Al McColeman to tell us exactly what took place.
Objectionable conduct. Number 69, Calgary. Major foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 44, Winnipeg. Automatic first down.
Well, the coaches won't be happy with what took place, particularly Cal Murphy over on the Winnipeg side of the field. Wally Buono a little puzzled by the call and the infraction, but his team benefits as they get a first down at the 42-yard line.
Well, it was a dead ball foul, and Winnipeg can't be too pleased because they're giving up free field position.
Stewart, the ball carrier, bounced off the first contact, spins his way down to the 40-yard line. It was Leonard Johnson who contacted him initially, and then Darius Watson came up to finish off the job at the 40.
Well, Leonard Johnson missed last week's game, but he's been inserted back in this afternoon, and this has been one of the trouble spots for Winnipeg, is the down play of their front line, and that time Johnson, with great penetration, made the hit in the backfield.
Johnson was out of the lineup for 2 games. Jeff Hunter had played the defensive end position for the road trip to Alberta. Losses in Edmonton and Calgary. Garcia has a receiver open. Vaughn will get another Calgary first down, taking the ball to the 21-yard line. Only Ottawa has given up more points this year than Winnipeg, but assistant coach Mike Kelly said last year we also gave up a lot of points, but we also scored a lot of points, so people didn't pay as much attention to the points we gave up.
Well, when you can offset that, it's always a plus, but you saw Jeff Garcia that time. He has great mechanics when he's rolling out. He got the shoulder square. He was able to sight Vaughn down the field and deliver a perfect strike.
Prior to this year, Garcia had thrown just 3 passes in the CFL. He gives the ball to Stewart, and Stewart with a big hole is tripped up by Greg Clark, but he gets another first down, taking the ball to the 5-yard line. You know, there were people who thought that the Stampeders, with the loss of Doug Flutie, would stumble, but they haven't missed a beat under the direction of Jeff Garcia.
Well, I think one of the things that Coach Buono really indicated yesterday is that the players try to earn the respect of each other. And what that means is that each player has to come out and give his all on every play in a game and also in practice, and that's what we're seeing early here from the Calgary Stampeders.
Coach Buono was also saying that now maybe people will appreciate the tremendous supporting cast they have in Calgary, such as Sean Daniels, who takes the ball into the end zone for the touchdown. 17 touchdown passes in 4 games and less than a quarter that Garcia has been at the controls of the Calgary offense.
And in the B-roll in the opening, that was what was indicated, the supporting cast in Calgary. You had Sean Daniels, who came up to the line, initiated the block, slipped off. Garcia with the half roll, able to dump the pass off to him right at the goal line for Calgary's first major of the game.
Mark McLaughlin to attempt the point after, and he puts Calgary into a 7-0 lead. So on their first possession, Jeff Garcia takes them the length of the field for a 7-0 lead with 9:14 remaining in the opening quarter. Sean Daniels with only his 5th catch of the year, but he takes the 4-yard toss from Jeff Garcia to cap an 80-yard drive and give Calgary a 7-0 lead.
Well, Sean Daniels is very happy to be here in Calgary. He's getting an opportunity to play in this offensive scheme, but Garcia with the play fake to Stewart, who has handled the ball so well here in the first quarter, and Daniels was open right in the seam. Nice strike by Garcia for the touchdown.
Shannon Baker is the kick returner for Winnipeg. Penalty flag on the play as he brings it up to the 45-yard line. He's a man who can make things happen. But this is going to be called back. It appears to be a penalty against Winnipeg on the return by Baker.
I believe Leonard Johnson was the one to come down and get that block in the back, and it's going to cost Winnipeg.
Illegal block. Winnipeg, number 95. First down.
An excellent return by Baker, and that's one of the things when you've been struggling as a team, you can't afford to take penalties. And that time, Johnson hustling downfield got the clip in the back. Winnipeg with poor field position for their initial drive.
Coaching staff was saying that they hoped this afternoon the players wouldn't shoot themselves in the foot.
Shot him in the back, I think.
They are backed up now to the 15-yard line. A penalty on a good return, negating the run back. There's another penalty flag as the handoff goes to Blaze Bryant. He is not running with the same authority he has in the past. Coach Mike Kelly was saying he doesn't seem to have the faith in his offensive lineman that the hole will be there. He seems to be searching for it.
Well, that has been one of the big problems this year with Winnipeg, is the insecurity of the backs behind the offensive line. They've had so many changes. Only Dave Van Konen has started all the games this year for the Blue Bombers, so it's been tough.
The procedure call against Winnipeg declined. Reggie Slack, the starting quarterback. Kevin McDougall started the game on Tuesday at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, but gave way to Slack after he ran into some early difficulties. So Slack is starting this game, but he could be replaced by McDougall if Slack has problems. He's going down in the grasp of Marvin Pope. Pope has been moved from the linebacking position to the weekend spot, and he was telling us, James, prior to the game that it took some adjusting to move into the front 4 at that weekend position.
But one of the things that Marvin had to make the adjustment on is that he was always free to run laterally. Now things happen much quicker. Everything is right in his face, but you saw as he was able to get the hands down on Walby as he tried to make the block, able to get across, get his hands up, force Reggie, but have the speed to close and make the sack.
Reggie Slack is probably hoping that Marvin Pope had been running laterally somewhere else rather than coming straight ahead to make the sack. Bob Cameron now will be punting into the south wind from the end zone. What are the chances of conceding a safety touch here?
Very high chances of that.
Now he's going to kick it away. Pee Wee Smith on the return, and he brings it inside the 30-yard line. So leading by a score of 7-0 with 7:55 left in the opening quarter. Calgary, again, with excellent field position.
Welcome back to Winnipeg Stadium. Here's what's coming up on the CFL on CBC next weekend. We're at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where the Stamps play host to the Toronto Argonauts, winless in 8 straight games. Whit?
The Argos with a tough loss last night, losing 23-20 to the Saskatchewan Roughriders for Ray Yawk and the Green and White. The win moved them 2 points ahead of Winnipeg in the battle for the final playoff position. Garcia throwing into the end zone. The catch is made by Pee Wee Smith, but he was out of bounds. That's the first miscue by Jeff Garcia. He had completed his first 5 pass attempts. John Huffnagel, the associate coach and offensive coordinator, signals in the plays to Garcia. He was saying when Garcia came on as the starting quarterback, replacing Flutie, he reduced the Calgary playbook, but only a little.
Only a little. Garcia's been around. This is his 2nd season in Calgary, so he's had an opportunity to learn a lot of the playbook, and when he came into the game, he felt quite comfortable.
He understands the concepts. That's the big thing about Garcia. Pass intended for Pee Wee Smith, and it's an fumble recovery. Reception and a fumble recovery. That's the rule by the official. Smith is claiming that he never had control of the football, and he's getting support from his teammates. Brendan Rodgers comes up with the loose ball.
The thing in this situation, Don, is that the player must have possession when he comes to the ground. If you make the reception in flight and you're hit by a defensive back and you hit the ground, that does not constitute possession, and so it's a very questionable call here with Winnipeg getting the ball. You'll see right here,
Calgary.
You'll see right here, Smith goes high and Poole comes underneath. He never really has possession with his feet on the ground, and that is the key. He made contact with the ground. The ground cannot cause a fumble, so it has to be Calgary football.
And that is the ruling. They have overruled the initial call, a fumble recovery by Winnipeg, as Pee Wee Smith, in a very awkward position, hit the turf hard. The ball popped loose, but as you said, the ground cannot make you fumble. David Poole is the injured Winnipeg player. He's a cornerback who is playing his 3rd game out of Carson Newman, a player the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were quite excited about, playing the corner primarily because of his speed.
Well, that's one of the things that Winnipeg has had problems with in the secondary. They've had so many different players come in and out, and David Poole right now, they're gone to a dime package. That's 6 defensive backs on this series trying to slow down this passing attack of Calgary, but now they're losing David Poole, so they're going to be forced to make another adjustment. Ryan Carey is going to be forced to come into the game. We'll get another look at that play as Smith goes high and Poole comes underneath. He has possession of the ball when he hits the ground, but it was a flimsy possession. But the ground actually can't cause the fumble, so Calgary maintains possession.
So then the one guy overruled the other guy because he called fumble. And the other guy said no catch. So there's 3 different calls, and the guy who made the call.
Gerald Wilcox explaining to Cal Murphy what the ruling was. And Cal Murphy just shakes his head. He didn't like the decision that was made in the field, and David Poole appears to be in considerable pain as he is assisted by trainer Ross Hodgkinson on the left over to the Bomber bench. He's going to have problems making it all the way in his own.
It looks to be his lower back, Don, and we've seen some problems with players having back problems. Ken Austin last night in Toronto when he was sandwiched in between 2 Saskatchewan defenders, and he had to leave the game, and now David Poole is in a considerable amount of pain and grasping his lower back, being assisted off the field.
Well, Jaron Bolden was the designated import breast for this game, and he will come in and play David Poole's corner position. Ryan Carey is the other backup DB dressed this afternoon.
Well, they're down to just the one backup, and now all of their healthy defensive backs are in the game with Ryan Carey, a former #1 draft pick of the Bombers, in the lineup, going to be tested. Last time the Bombers was forced in with a new player, Brendan Rodgers started the game. That's where they started going to the backside of the backfield. Now you have Carey in the game, and you have possibly the 2 best receivers in Sapunjis and Pitts playing the slot, and Carey's been inserted at safety, so look for some post routes to be run.
Cal Murphy was attempting to get referee McColeman to come over to the bench to explain the penalty, but McColeman wasn't coming anywhere near him. Here's Garcia to Pitts in the end zone, but they ruled he came down just outside the goal area. He went up high when it appeared as though he was across the goal line, but the contact took him back out to the 1, and that's where they will scrimmage, 1st and goal.
Jeff Garcia really hasn't felt the pressure this afternoon. That's a very close to the end line there of the Winnipeg defense. They're going to have to find some ways to get some pressure on him, possibly blitz.
1st and goal for the Stampeders. They lead it by a score of 7-0. Garcia will keep, tries to go over the top, and he succeeds, but there is also a penalty flag on the play. The Stampeders were favored by 17.5 points coming into this game, and it looks as though they're going to make the odds makers.
Offside. Winnipeg defensive line.
How do you feel about that? Now, this is a very powerful football team. And it all starts with the offensive line. And the center, Jamie Crysdale, right in the middle of everything right there, getting the great surge on Colin Scrivener, just driving him back into the end zone along with the rest of that Calgary offensive line. Garcia is following that Cadillac of offensive lines in for a touchdown.
So Mark McLaughlin, who had to spring for a number of tickets for family and friends here in Winnipeg for this afternoon's game, will attempt to make it a 14-0 football game, and he succeeds with 6:01 remaining in the opening quarter. You know, Jeff Garcia really won a position with the Stampeders last year in a preseason game in Sacramento. Garcia is from San Jose State. Late in the ball game, Calvin Simmons and Garcia, the backups to Doug Flutie, because he's from the San Jose area, they gave Garcia an opportunity to play, and John Hufnagel said he made the team when he directed us on 2 long touchdown drives.
Well, you know, being from that area and having a lot of family around, you really want to shine. And you know, he's comes from a long coaching background. His father has been a coach for most of Jeff's life. He was his junior college coach at Gavilan Junior College before going to San Jose State. And so when he came to Calgary working under John Hufnagel, he was already the type of young man that you want to bring into a system. He was willing to learn, and he accepted everything that Hufnagel put in his direction, and he's been very successful this season.
Hufnagel was also saying it's easier for a quarterback to adjust to our system when he's familiar with the passing offense. Should point out that the kicking tee used by McLaughlin is turned upside down. He prefers to kick it from the pegs rather than the normal positioning of the kicking tee. He likes the ball sitting at an angle. Baker on the return gets it back to the 35-yard line, and that's where Winnipeg will scrimmage 1st and 10. Cal Murphy said we have to get something going this afternoon. We have to get our quarterback, Reggie Slack, completing some passes. These are the people performing behind Reggie Slack. Miles Gurrell playing his 299th career game today. Gerald Wilcox back in the lineup. He injured a bursa sac in his left elbow that forced him out of the game on Tuesday at McMahon Stadium. He's Winnipeg's leading receiver. Slack dumps it off, and Milt Stiegel has a gain of about 7 yards. Stiegel made his debut against Calgary, but he said, boy, have I got a lot to learn about all the motion in the CFL. Gonzalo Floyd is in at a defensive tackle position for Calgary, replacing Kenny Walker. Matt Finlay has been a standout at the middle linebacking position this year. And on the corner, Marvin Coleman leads the team in interceptions with 6. 2nd and 4. Slack pitches it out to Baker. Baker takes it out of bounds. He has a 1st down. Shannon Baker, the touchdown maker, is the name and the nickname he goes by. And Cal Murphy is really excited. He said this young man will make people miss when he gets his hands on the ball.
Well, they've been really excited. He's been one of the fastest players that they've had here in Winnipeg over the past several years. But one of the keys in being able to get the ball out to your receivers is the blocking of the offensive line. We see Dave Van Conant, the center here for Winnipeg, one of the more unheralded centers in the CFL.
First and 10, the Bombers at their own 53-yard line. The handoff to Blaze Bryant, and there I think we may have seen an example as Zizakovic made the tackle of Bryant looking for the hole rather than having faith that it will be there.
Well, in the past, Winnipeg, you were always assured of them being one of the top rushing teams in the CFL. And when you look at the blocking scheme here, as Calgary gets the great penetration, you cannot allow for that to occur if you want your back to be able to hit the holes. If the linemen are hitting him before he gets there, he will always run tentatively.
And we remind you that Zizakovic will be featured at halftime. He made the tackle. It's 2nd and 9, but coming off the corner is Marvin Pope prior to the ball being snapped.
Well, that's getting that jump. He had a sack early. He figured he'd get a beeline on one this time.
He was telling us the toughest thing for him is when they move him inside, when they do a little stunting in that along the defensive line.
81. 2nd down.
And what that is, Don, he was talking about reducing. He's playing the weak side in, and when they reduce him down, he goes down over the guard. It's already tough enough for Marvin, being only about 5'11", playing against Chris Walby at 6'7", and then when they reduce him down, he disappears completely.
2nd and 4 as a result of the offside penalty. Penalty flag in the play. The pass is complete to Gerald Wilcox. That will be a Winnipeg first down pending the penalty call.
Don, that last pass to Wilcox was what you've been accustomed to seeing the Winnipeg offense do over the years, the quick out pass to the slot backs. Run them down 5, break it off to the corner, get the ball there on time.
Offside. Calgary number 96. Penalty is declined. First down.
Zizakovic was offside, so that will give Winnipeg a first down at the Calgary 45-yard line.
Well, a big first down for the Bombers. They need that. They need to come down and get some points on the board in this series.
Although they lost by a score of 43-28, the Bombers were encouraged by their second half play, and it looks as though Anthony McClanahan may have jumped prematurely at the line of scrimmage. Winnipeg in the second half in Calgary outscored the Stamps 22-13.
And that's a building point for Winnipeg to be able to score that many points.
1. First down repeated.
In the second half, because in the back-to-back series, it's very tough when you come in and you haven't done anything productive. We'll see the offside at the top of your screen right there with McClanahan getting in that neutral zone. But the voice inflection of Reggie Slack, very powerful this afternoon.
Slack operating from the shotgun. He rolls to his left, looks deep, and he overthrows Milt Stiegel. And Reggie Slack took a hit as he attempted to find Stiegel breaking down the sidelines. Stiegel got on the plane after his debut in Calgary and said to the coaching staff, "Boy, I'm tired and have I got a lot to learn."
You know, one of the things that really not a running statistic kept on is the hits that quarterbacks take in the CFL. They always talk about the sacks being the big play, but the hits, because the quarterback wears down over time from those hits. And we'll keep a tab on that with Reggie Slack this afternoon.
Tim Daniel goes wide to the left. Wilcox also to the left. The toss inside to Blaze Bryant. Bryant looking for a first down, and it appears as though he's got it down to the 30 to the 29-yard line.
You get this pitch play. You got Slack dropping back here. You got Bryant. He's going to come up the middle through the seam, but look at the block right here and the walling off. That is the key to the play, allowing that gaping hole, and Blaze Bryant just exploded up through the middle and was able to pick up a first down for the Bombers.
Winnipeg first and 10 from the Calgary 29. Slack trying to keep this drive alive, and Gerald Wilcox will attempt to keep it going as well.
You know, Gerald Wilcox had just an outstanding season last year with 111 receptions, far off the pace this year because of the inconsistency at quarterback. 6 different quarterbacks, but look at the timing with Reggie Slack. 1, 2, 3 strides, get the ball out in time to his receiver, and if you can throw the ball like that, you'll have a successful afternoon.
Wilcox has had some injury problems this year, but only 1 touchdown. Another penalty flag as the pass is complete to Stiegel, and Stiegel lunges forward looking for a first down, and he'll have it. But let's wait for the penalty call.
Don, this has to be nothing but a confident builder. You spoke about Winnipeg outscoring Calgary last time that they played.
Offside, Calgary, number 91, first down.
Second time on this drive that Marvin Pope has been offside.
In the second half, but the timing of Reggie Slack throwing the football, you'll see him, he's sitting in the shotgun, but on the roll left, watch as he gets his shoulder squared, and that is the key. He's able to deliver the football with velocity out to the wide side of the field. A perfect strike for another first down.
And he'll concur with an earlier statement. He didn't get hit on the play.
They love that feeling when they can stand and watch the completion.
Slack operating from underneath the center, throws for Wilcox, touchdown! Only the 10th touchdown pass of the year by Winnipeg quarterbacks, the second time that Gerald Wilcox has taken it into the end zone.
Well, you know, just a great pass route by Gerald Wilcox. Here's a guy who's been hurt most of the year. He has the bursa sac problem in his elbow, but he's been one of the true leaders for Winnipeg. He's in the right slot, a throwback pattern from Slack to the post. Wilcox behind the coverage. Vaughn could not get over in time. Touchdown Bombers.
Troy Westwood to add the point after, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have cut the deficit in half. On Tuesday in Calgary, the Stampeders had a 17-0 first quarter lead. Wilcox has scored a Winnipeg touchdown. A 75-yard drive by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as Reggie Slack completed 6 of 7 pass attempts, the big one into the end zone to Gerald Wilcox.
The key was he had the time to throw the ball, but when you get a receiver such as a Gerald Wilcox caliber, you're going to have great success. And that time he was able to get on the inside of Gerald Vaughn, and he had the post to work with. Vaughn had no support from the safety Knox.
Vaughn on the return. And he runs into traffic as he gets up to the 47-yard line. That's where Calgary will scrimmage, 1st and 10. Gerald Wilcox with a big hockey elbow pad on his right elbow, protecting the injured bursa sac.
And Don, this is what I was talking about. When he had the inside release, Vaughn is bracketed to the outside. He has no support inside. And when you run the post route, that's where a receiver wants to be, because the defensive back's on his outside shoulder. The quarterback has a clear path to throw the football in.
Gerald Wilcox did play junior hockey for a spell before he decided to play professional football as a career. So he's familiar with the equipment that hockey players wear and the elbow pad that he has protecting his arm. Stewart, the ball carrier, and he got up to the 51-yard line, but there was a late penalty flag, and something the officials were concerned about is some of the activity taking place after the play has been stopped.
Well, the frustration building on the Winnipeg.
We know that. I know, we all know. Okay, so they can't afford to do things like that.
Hey, number 58.
We can't go.
Unnecessary roughness against Clark. And that took place after Stewart had been stopped.
Well, we saw the numbers on the touchdown drive by Winnipeg. Slack to Wilcox. Great effort by the Winnipeg offense. Very foolish and stupid effort here by the Winnipeg defense. Your offense comes back down, gets you back in the game scoring-wise, and your defense takes you right back out of it by giving Calgary great field position at the 29.
To the Winnipeg 29 now, 1st and 10 for the Stampeders. 34 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Vaughn lines up wide to the right. Fake inside to Stewart. Garcia rolling out, being pressured and pursued and forced out of bounds by K.D. Williams. Good coverage downfield. Garcia could not find a receiver open, and Williams was able to track him down.
K.D. Williams, probably one of the fastest linebackers in the CFL. They've always been impressed with his speed. Look at his lateral movement as he works off the block, regains his balance, and pursues Garcia out to the sideline. That's what Winnipeg had been so vaunted for in the past, were their linebackers. And this afternoon, they've been holding their own against this Calgary offense.
2nd and 13 for the Stampeders. This could be the final play of the opening quarter. Garcia out of the shotgun, looking for Pitts, and Pitts had Garrett all over him and was unable to squeeze the throw from Garcia. And that is also the final play of the opening quarter. So it will be 3rd and 13. And a Calgary field goal attempt when we return.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Ford of Canada, makers of the new 1996 Ford Taurus.
We start the second quarter with Calgary leading 14-7, and Mark McLaughlin will be attempting a field goal on 3rd and 13. The Bombers aren't about to use the schedule as an excuse for their play this year, but has any team had as tough a grind, 5 games in 19 days?
Well, that's really wearing on the body, and the Bombers have had a lot of injuries this season and constant roster adjustments that they've had to make, and it's hard to get continuity. You know, we spoke about the 6 different quarterbacks, Don, but they've had 13 different receivers that had to work with those 6 different quarterbacks this season.
But Cal Murphy feels there may be a light at the end of the tunnel. And right now, Mark McLaughlin is attempting to make it a 10-point lead, but his kick is wide, and a single point is conceded, so it's a 15-7 ball game. The Stampeders in front of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. McLaughlin played high school football in the city of Winnipeg. As a matter of fact, he was on a provincial rugby team in Manitoba with a teammate now with the Stampeders, Bruce Covington.
The big tuna who's been out most of the season with a rotator cuff injury, and Bruce Beaton has stepped in very admirably at that left offensive tackle position and performed very well. The coaching staff is very pleased with him.
Bruce Beaton, former #1 draft pick by the Ottawa Rough Riders. Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. Slack's pass is knocked down right at the line of scrimmage. We talked about a change that the Stampeders have made along the defensive line. There he is, number 84, Gonzalo Floyd. And he was telling us prior to the game that in his NFL days with Washington and Jacksonville, he had always played end. He was finding the adjustment to tackle just a little different, particularly the yard off the line of scrimmage and all the motion.
A few more bodies inside there also. You don't get that free run from the outside.
2nd and 10. Slack looking for Baker. He can't hang on. Jordan was defending against Baker, who extended, trying to pull in the throw from Slack, but it's 2 and out for the Bombers as they send in punter Bob Cameron.
You know, we spoke about earlier the hits. Slack's been taking them.
122 net yards for Calgary, 96 of those through the air. Garcia has looked very sharp again today, as he has since taking over from Doug Flutie. Cameron's previous punt was into the wind. This is with it, and he gets away a beauty. Vaughn takes it back at the 23-yard line. He gets a bit of a seam, makes one player miss, and then is brought down by Ryan Carey at the 36-yard line.
Excellent return by Vaughn. The key is that the kick was kicked too long. The coverage could not get down quick enough. Cameron outkicked his coverage. Vaughn had a great seam, able to get it up outside the 35-yard line. Nice field position for Calgary to start the drive.
13:31 remaining in the first half. 15-7. Calgary leads Winnipeg, and the Stampeders have the ball at their own 37-yard line. Handoff inside to Stewart. Stewart trying to get away from Clark. Clark is able to track him down with help from Leonard Johnson and K.D. Williams. Clark put a big hit on Saskatchewan quarterback Warren Jones a couple of weeks ago. And other players were saying that's the type of inspirational play they need over the balance of the season.
Well, that's what they need, because when you're sitting back watching the game, you have to make things happen defensively. And the best way to do that is go out and flatten someone who will inspire your teammates.
But you have to make those plays within the rules. The pass intended for Tony Stewart, he was being defended by Duran Bolden. There have been a couple of times where hits have been made in this game after the whistle has gone.
Well, there's one rule about football, and that it's a very violent game, and if you're going to play defense, you have to play it with an attitude. As long as the official doesn't throw a flag, it's within the rules.
Wally Buono had some interesting thoughts on exactly what you're talking about, the attitude that players bring to a game. He said, I don't believe in a lot of hitting at training camp. He said, hitting is an attitude that you'll see in a game.
It is. You have to come to the game with that swagger, that demeanor that, hey, anything in an opposite color jersey must go down. And that's the success of a lot of teams.
Martino's third down punt. Taken by Baker, and Baker is brought down at the 38 as the Stamps had good downfield coverage with 12:11 remaining in the first half.
On the play side,
Frank Marciano, the offensive line coach, talking to Bruce Beaton and Jamie Crysdale. The Stampeders with an 11-1 record. Some might suggest the Stampeders are arrogant, maybe even cocky, but players think that they might be able to finish the year 17-1. But to get that 12th win, they have to get past the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Bombers trail by 8. The pass complete to Shannon Baker, and he'll have a gain of 7 yards.
Arrogant part, I don't know about cocky. I would say yes, good, big plus on that side. And you have to be good to win 11 games in 12 games. But the defense, watch Alondra Johnson, the pursuit, that's why this team is so good, because they care about what the other player is doing, and they're always hustling across the field.
2nd and 3, Winnipeg. Daniel lined up wide to the left, a handoff straight ahead, and absolutely nowhere to go. And Stampeders shut them down. And that's something the Calgary players were saying as well. When one facet of our game isn't working, the other side, or the kicking game, seems to pick it up. There's always somebody ready to take over if we're sputtering and stuttering in another area.
Well, I think a lot of people forget how good this Calgary defense is. Look at the gang tackling right there in the middle of the line. Nowhere for the Bombers to run the football. And people forget, coming into this game, they were ranked number 1 in 7 defensive categories in the league.
Another big 3rd down punt by Cameron. Vaughn takes it back at the 11-yard line. Misses the first would-be tackler and does another good job of getting it back to the 33-yard line. A 53-yard punt and a 21-yard run back by Vaughn.
Teams like Calgary, they bring in young players. Vaughn, a rookie out of University of Arizona, they just seem to retool. They constantly find the new young bodies. When you look at their receiving core, Vaughn, Sapunjas, Danielson, Smith, Reed, who's a backup rookie Canadian, Alan Pitts, Tyrone Williams, just acquired 2 weeks ago. This team only gets better week after week.
Well, I think we've seen tremendous examples of the depth of the Stampeders this year. They've had some very key players go down with injury, including quarterback Doug Flutie. When we asked Wally Buono what Jeff Garcia brought to the team, he said he's smart, he has good vision, he's athletic, and most importantly, he understands the concepts of what we're attempting to do.
You know, we spoke about it earlier, coming from the coaching background that he has, you know, with his father being in his life all those years and living in the same household. So you couldn't ask for a better situation with a young quarterback to see that on a daily basis, to have someone at home to discuss what you're seeing in a game and to help you along over the years. And Garcia has really responded with his opportunity here in Calgary this season with Doug Flutie's injury, taking him out of the lineup for the rest of the season.
He takes advantage of the injury to Leonard Johnson to go over to the bench to confer with John Hufnagel. Not to take anything away from Doug Flutie, because he has been absolutely fantastic during his CFL career. But there are a lot of ingredients that have helped Flutie set the records he has. John Hufnagel, the offensive coordinator, playing a large role. The supporting cast, also a big part of everything that's gone on. That pass intended for Alan Pitts, just a little too high.
You know, you spoke about all of the ingredients that go into success of an organization. We'll get a shot here of the defense trying to put pressure once again on Garcia as we see Kelly Rush coming around, working on Pangelitis, and the offensive line is just doing a great job. When Doug Flutie was having all of his success, the offensive line really went unnoticed. But with Garcia in there, you really have a tendency to notice the offensive line a little more because he's more of a drop-back passer.
Martino's last punt traveled 47 yards. He's kicking into the wind. He's going to run it. Now he's going to kick it on the run, and he takes a hit. In the process, Pierce feels that there will be no yards. K.D. Williams could legally put the hit on Martino because he had been flushed out of the pocket when he was kicking it on the run. 9:37 is the time remaining in the first half, with Calgary up by 8 points. I really don't think that third down punt was designed as a fake. Martino simply reacted when the snap on third down was a little high.
Very high snap. He saw the pressure coming up the middle, but once he broke outside of his normal kicking stride, he was fair game for K.D. Williams.
The no yards penalty improved Winnipeg's field position. The hitch screen to Tim Daniel, but he'll only get about 3 yards. This has become a play that has worked its way into the offensive scheme of every team in the CFL, that hitch screen to the wideout.
But the key to the hitch screen is that you have to be able to get your offensive lineman out in front of you. That time, Winnipeg was not able to do that. Marvin Coleman came up and made a great stop on the play.
A pickup of 3. It will be 2nd and 7. On that Martino punt, there was a no yards call against Calgary as Pierce fielded it. And now Winnipeg is looking at 2nd and 7 from the Calgary 50. Slack with time, looking deep, way over the head of Tim Daniel. He had absolutely no opportunity to catch up with that toss.
I think one of the things that's bothering Slack at the moment has been the pressure that Calgary has put on him. That time he had the happy feet in the pocket. He never really set his feet, and he couldn't get much on that throw, and he just let it go wide. You see Marvin Pope coming in, working against Miles Garrell, just a bull rush, running Miles into the ground. Marvin, a very strong young man.
Well, Pope has been a factor in today's game. He's got a quarterback sack to his credit. He's been offside a couple of times.
Oh, you had to mention that.
Third down kick by Cameron. Coleman is going to let it go, and it goes out at the 5-yard line. No chance on that 45-yard kick for any run back as the veteran Bob Cameron accepts congratulations after angling that one perfectly to the 5.
He's probably been the best weapon for the Bombers all year long, Don. Just a model of consistency. Bob Cameron once again, coffin corner kick at the 5-yard line. Calgary with poor field position. Now the Bombers defense must step up to the plate.
Well, he's punted more than any other kicker in the CFL. 127 punts coming into this game. That's not a stat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are happy with. Calgary 1st and 10 from the 5. The handoff to Stewart. He picks up 5. Pretty good hole for Tony Stewart. It looked as though he might go for even more before K.D. Williams closed it off. John Hufnagel signaling in another play to Jeff Garcia. Can you interpret those signals?
Well, that's our counterpart, Dan Kepley. Our buddy can do those hand signals and read lips a little better than we can. Second and 5, the fake to Stewart. Garcia has a man wide open.
open. Vince Danielson on the sidelines. Nobody even close to him. How does a guy get as open as Danielson was in that play?
Don, I just picked up the interpretation. It was thrown to Danielson on the up route. But an excellent throw by young Garcia. The rollout left, and look at what he gets on the football. He gets the ball out there in a hurry, throwing into a strong headwind, and Danielson does the rest, turning it upfield.
And that's when a receiver as wide open as Danielson was is saying, please, please, don't let me drop this one. But you talked about some of the receiving talent with the Stampeders. Danielson, primarily a backup, so is Williams, the new addition. And Vaughn makes the catch for a Calgary first down at the Winnipeg 48-yard line.
You know, there's so many weapons that this Stampeder offense brings at you. Danielson one play, Vaughn the next play. And it's just so many weapons. But Kelly Rush, watch Kelly Rush right here. They've had a lot of problems with this young man this season, and that's just not having your head in the football game. And the hit on Garcia way late cost his team another big penalty.
Very undisciplined both on and off the field. Cal Murphy has had his patience tested with Kelly Rush, but he feels the young man brings so much talent that he'll try and be patient with him. Stewart, the ball carrier, big hole, another first down. And that takes the ball down to the Winnipeg 17-yard line. Wally Buono's team was backed up to the 5 after Bob Cameron had angled a punt out of bounds. But a couple of big plays and the penalty against Kelly Rush have moved the ball deep into Winnipeg territory.
And Dale Lyles is down. He's been having a shoulder problem, but watch the offensive lineman. Jamie Crasdale right here is going to come down. Pangelitis here is going to kick out, and Stewart is going to go right through the middle. Just a gaping hole up here, but this is what the offensive line has been able to do for Calgary this year. And watch Stewart as he reads the blocks. This offensive line has gotten the job done. Stewart is very happy to be running behind this group of players.
Winnipeg already thin at the linebacking position, and they have further problems as Dal Lyles is hurt and heading out. Jamie Crasdale is another Winnipegger. He has a brother and sister here in the city, and he's quite happy to be back playing center, a position he played at college. He alternated some there last year with Doug Davies in Calgary, but he has been the starting center this year. But he doesn't handle third down punts, snaps on third down punting situations. Zizakovic does that. Wade Miller into the ball game, replacing Dal Lyles. Garcia, a throwback, and he's got Danielson open down to the 2. Well, Vince Danielson, a tremendous talent and a backup primarily to Dave Sapunjas.
Don, they've run the rollout so well this afternoon. Roll right, throw back. Brandon Rogers, not accustomed to being out there in coverage. That time let Danielson slip inside. Leonard Johnson made the cleanup tackle, but great play execution by this Calgary offense.
Danielson was in there with Sean Daniels out. There's Dave Sapunjas, who leads the team in yardage. Jeff Garcia will keep and score an easy touchdown. A tremendous drive that started from the 5-yard line, capped by this 2-yard touchdown run, his second of the game for Jeff Garcia.
Well, Calgary right now is clicking on all cylinders, and this offensive line, can't mention it enough, is doing a fine job. People forget this offensive line has been completely retooled. When you look at it, they lost Covington at left offensive tackle. Beaton has moved into that position. Crysdale moved from guard to center full time. Pangelitis in his first year starting. Romano's gone from guard, where he was runner-up as outstanding lineman of the year, out to tackle. And Chronopoulos came over to trade a free agency from BC. 5 new positions, and this team hasn't missed a beat this season.
4:49 remaining in the half. 22-7. Calgary leads. Jeff Garcia capped a 105-yard drive with his second touchdown of the game, but the man that really made it happen is sitting right beside him. Vince Danielson, 2 receptions for 50 yards. It's interesting that Danielson at the University of British Columbia was a quarterback for his first 4 years, switched to the slot position, feeling that he had a better opportunity to be drafted as a slot back, and he has really played well. As a matter of fact, Dave Sapunjas figures that he'll be a better receiver than the man who is leading the CFL in receptions this year.
Well, you know, that's just the headiness of that young man, understanding the opportunities that he had as a slot back. And by moving from quarterback to slot, he had a great ability to read defenses, so it was an added advantage for him coming into the CFL, and he was able to get incorporated into the Calgary offensive scheme very early as a rookie, and he's been a big plus, and he's saving that phone call, speaking to everyone back in Vancouver. Maybe we should charge him for that.
Well, the last time he said hello to his mom and dad back in Vancouver, we were in a commercial break.
Smart enough to know that we're back live.
With the kick going out of bounds, the ball comes back to the 30-yard line. McLaughlin will perform the kickoff chore again. Trying to pin Baker in on the left side. Baker trying to use the hash marks to his advantage. Look out! Baker, the touchdown maker, prevented from getting to the end zone by Tyrone Williams. An 84-yard return, and Winnipeg answers the score by Garcia by moving to the 5.
And this is what they've been expecting. He's just been looking for a crease. He found it. He brought it straight up, broke it back across the grain. But watch the foot race with Tyrone Williams.
First and 10.
Just at the last moment, Williams will go out and get that cage, but great break for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
In making the tackle, Williams grabbed the face mask of Baker, and that takes the ball to the 3-yard line. Williams working on special teams, and Coach Wally Buono was saying that's how this young man is going to make his mark with our Calgary Stampeder Football Club, is displaying his talents on special teams. And talking about players displaying talents on special teams, Cal Murphy feels that with Stiegel, Daniel, and in particularly Shannon Baker, he has the best kick and punt returners he has ever had in his days in Winnipeg.
Well, you know, you look at Baker, when he hit that open field, he was just off to the races. He looked like a mailman with a bad dog chasing him down the field. But that's the big break that the Bombers need, and Williams right at the last moment, the great hustle. And you talked about earning the respect of your teammates. A lot of players would just give up the touchdown, but that's what makes the Calgary Stampeders so successful as a team, is by making every effort to stop the opponent.
Winnipeg first and 10 from the 3-yard line. Blaze Bryant gets the ball, but he is stopped short of the goal area.
And as we spoke about earlier, this has been one of the troublesome points for Winnipeg. Their offensive line has just not played with the authority that they have in the past. Blaze Bryant has not run with the same type of ability, and the Calgary defense is doing a great job.
Well, they missed Chris Walby for a stretch as he was out with a bicep injury. He came back in the second half of the home-and-home affair with Saskatchewan. Second and goal, and Bryant isn't going to get there. Alondra Johnson made the initial contact, and it will be third and goal, Winnipeg, from the 1.
Normally a guarantee for Winnipeg when you're down at the 1-yard line that you would get it, but Alondra Johnson with the penetration behind the line of scrimmage. Mark spoke about him in the opening being one of the leaders of this defense, and he does it with his play.
And Cal Murphy has called a timeout with 3:03 remaining in the first half. He wants to talk to his quarterback, Reggie Slack, about what play he should call on third and goal from the 1.
You know, it's a tough call, but you have Chris Walby, one of the more massive offensive tackles in the CFL. We got to listen here.
Well, I think Cal told him to run the search. We'll search for the play when we come back. Well, as Reggie Slack went to the Winnipeg bench in the timeout, Anthony McClanahan went to the Calgary bench to find out what Wally Buono wanted him to do.
Well, the penetration by McClanahan and Johnson, 3 yards in the backfield, the Sam and Will linebacker. You cannot allow those guys that deep if you want success with your running game.
3rd and goal, Winnipeg. Blaze Bryant has been stopped in the first 2 attempts on a series that originated at the 3. Slack in trouble, won't get in. There is a penalty flag, however, on the play. Slack was looking to the end zone for Baker. The Stampeders came up with the big defensive play. It's against Calgary.
Offside. Calgary defensive line. First down.
What a break for the Bombers as they were stopped 3 times in a series of plays that began at the 3, and now they get 3 more shots from the 1.
A huge break for the Bombers, but you have to like the play that Greg Knox made one-on-one out on Reggie Slacks, coming up from his free safety, not allowing Reggie to get around the corner, standing his ground, making an open field tackle. But you got to look behind Chris Walby. You got to try him sooner or later.
Pierce into the ball game. Johnstone out for Winnipeg. Slack will keep. Slack has got the touchdown. And Cal Murphy, much more enthused at the Winnipeg bench than he was earlier, with Slack finally putting it in the end zone.
Well, that's the fire that you're accustomed to seeing from Cal Murphy. But Reggie Slack following behind Brent McNeil and Miles Garrell off the left side. They got the surge, reestablished the line of scrimmage. The Bombers score.
Troy Westwood adds the point after. And again, we have an 8-point football game. Reggie Slack's first touchdown of the season, but it was a tough one to get as Winnipeg required a penalty to help the drive that started at the 3.
Well, the penalty, they'll take the touchdown any way that they can get it, with this asserting Reggie Slack into the lineup this afternoon. When he came in last week, they saw some good things versus Calgary, and they've seen even more brighter things this afternoon with 14 points on the scoreboard here in the first half.
22-14, the Stampeders lead. The Stampeders had jumped into a quick 14-0 first quarter lead before the Winnipeg Blue Bombers struck back with a pretty good drive of their own that covered 75 yards. The Stampeders answered that with a 105-yard touchdown drive. There you see the kicking tee in the more conventional position for Troy Westwood. It's turned upside down by his Calgary counterpart, Mark McLaughlin, for the kickoff. And because of the wind, the ball is held for Westwood. Vaughn takes it at the 20. Vaughn got away from Williams. And Vaughn brings it out to the 42, and there is also a penalty flag over on the far side of the field. A 55-yard kickoff, a 22-yard run back. Let's go to the sidelines. Here's Mark.
Don, here's what's coming up on the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. We'll feature Stampeder defensive tackle Sreko Zizakovic. Controlled violence along the line of scrimmage. He lives his life on the edge away from the football field. We'll also have first half highlights in what is becoming a very entertaining football game. Calgary in front 22-14 with 2:45 to go in the first half. Whit?
Well, many people anticipated this game could be another blowout. Then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have had those problems this year. Zizakovic on the bench, taking a rest.
Can I see your Sports Select ticket?
I did not have Calgary by 17.5. Sapunjas on the receiving end of the throw, and again there seems to be some confusion as to whether or not he made the reception. Wally Buono ventured out onto the playing field. You'll recall in the first quarter, Pee Wee Smith made a catch. One official said it was good, another said it was a fumble.
Well, we get a shot of Sapunjas working against Ryan Carey. He goes down, the ball is on his leg. Great reception by Dave Sapunjas. The officials missed one this afternoon. They came back and reversed the call. They're going to give him the reception because Dave Sapunjas went down. The ball laid on his thigh. He brought it to his body. Great effort by the Calgary receiver.
First and 10 as they award the catch to Sapunjas. Handoff inside to Stewart. Stewart gets a couple of good blocks, and he'll be close to another first down. A gain of 9. 2:24 remaining in the first half. 22-14. In what has proven to be a very entertaining football game at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon. A rematch, a home-and-home affair between these two teams. Calgary won the first 43-28 Tuesday.
Well, this offensive line is just manhandling the defensive front of Winnipeg. As you can see right in the middle of your screen, Denny Chronopoulos just stalemating Stan Mikkelus, not allowing him to get off the block.
Dal Lyles is really favoring his shoulder. He was hurt earlier. He has had problems with a neck injury. Tony Stewart hurdles a couple of people and takes the ball out to the Winnipeg 53-yard line. And again, Dal Lyles is very slow in getting up.
And he is really laboring, holding that left shoulder down. You can see it's really giving him a lot of problems. But Tony Stewart is running as well today as he's run all season long. He's just enjoying the luxury of this offensive line has afforded him this afternoon.
Calgary first and 10, the ball at the Winnipeg 53, 1:56 remaining in the half. Out of the shotgun, Garcia to the sidelines, incomplete. He was looking for Pee Wee Smith. Darius Watson was over defending against him. Even had Smith come down with the football, he was out of bounds.
Well, that ball got away from Jeff Garcia, but what he is doing is continuously attacking this Bomber defense. He is taking advantage of everything that they're allowing. He's mixing the run and the pass very well.
Second and 10 from the 53-yard line. Three receivers wide to the right. Garcia dumps it off on the screen over the middle to Stewart. He's got some blocking and a big run down to the Winnipeg 37. Well, we anticipated on the first series of plays that Tony Stewart would be a busy man this afternoon, and the Stampeders have continued to employ him as both a running back and a receiver.
Don, the key to this play, you have Stewart here, but watch the offensive line as they let the defensive linemen sift through, and they're going to come off their blocks and just take off downfield. Great job of execution. That is the key. Hustle.
Garcia again from the shotgun, another completion, this time to Vaughn, and another first down, or at least very close to it for the Stampeders.
You really have to like Jeff Garcia's game plan, what Coach Huffnagel is orchestrating for him on the sideline. He has kept his young quarterback in a comfort zone. He hasn't put him in any bad situations, and he's been able to execute the offense very proficiently today.
38 feet. We get safety, comes from a good route. We had the post last time.
The measurement enabled Garcia to go over to confer with Huffnagel. And if you've got a Calgary playbook in your possession, you'll know what Huffnagel told Garcia to do on this first down pattern.
I'm gonna take a long stretch and say, pick up the first down. Got it already. Yeah, it wasn't that quick. I like a rollout situation right here with Garcia coming to the field. The throwback has worked very well. Alan Pitts hasn't seen many balls this afternoon.
Neither has Dave Sapunjas. This one for Sapunjas. Touchdown. The 11th of the year for Dave Sapunjas. Only his second catch of the day, and both have come on this drive.
Well, it's what we spoke about, the throwback, and that's what Garcia did. The half roll, you got Garcia running that, not Garcia, make that Sapunjas running down the seam, but a perfect strike. The offensive line has given him all the time that you need to find your receivers, and he got inside, and that is the key. When you keep that defensive back on your outside hip, you can always work the post route, and your quarterback will find you.
The 18th touchdown throw of the year for Jeff Garcia. Mark McLaughlin adds the point after. And Dave Sapunjas with his 11th touchdown of the year, the leading receiver in the CFL. But, you know, doing some projections on Garcia and Doug Flutie. Flutie, before being injured, had completed 16 touchdown passes. Garcia now has 18. At this rate, they would combine for a league record 46 this season.
Well, what you have to like about Garcia is the air that he puts under the football. He allows his receivers to make the adjustment underneath the ball, and you could see Sapunjas at the end of that reception making that slight adjustment to the inside to get more separation from the defensive back. Touchdown, the result once again.
27 yards the pass to Dave Sapunjas for the major score. 7 plays for 88 yards, Calgary.
Great drive, Stewie. Great work. Great work, Terry. What do you...
Well, Garcia put it into the hands of Dave Sapunjas for the major score, but Sapunjas was congratulating everybody but the water boy over on the bench for making that drive happen.
Well, that's how together this team is, and Coach Buono spoke about it, that, you know, you need everyone's support, and that's what Sapunjas did. He congratulates everyone. This is one big effort.
Shannon Baker again on the kickoff return. This time they were able to pin him in on the short side of the field. Some pushing and shoving after the whistle, and the officials have to quickly intervene. They were a little concerned that some of this was going to occur, and I think this is somewhat common when teams play within a 5-day span, back-to-back games.
Well, you know, you're going to have some frustration boil over from the previous game, and you know, the way things ended last week, Winnipeg wasn't too pleased with it. Even though they outscored Calgary in the second half, Calgary has come back and outscored them in the first half of this game, and players become a little mouthy at that point.
Winnipeg 1st and 10. The ball is at the 31-yard line. 55 seconds remaining in the first half. Slack with a low throw for Baker. He makes the catch. He didn't think he was touched by anybody, but he was tapped on the shoulder after he made the reception for a Winnipeg first down up at the 44.
Well, an excellent route by Baker. Slack gets outside. Johnson was pinned by Walby, the tackle, but the comeback route, and that's what Baker did, gave his quarterback a lane to throw to.
To the other side as we return to live action to Tim Daniel. He'll get up close to the midfield stripe. He was working against Marvin Coleman.
Just something that Winnipeg hasn't been too efficient at this year, throwing to the wideouts. In the last 2 passes by Slack, he's been able to get the ball to the wide side of the field.
Something Winnipeg has been attempting to do with Slack is adjust his throwing motion. He has what they call a long arm. He was taught that at Auburn. And that long arm throw sometimes gets him into a little trouble. Here's the quick release for Stiegel. Oh, Stiegel, I think, got a little turned around. He didn't make the move that he thought he should have, and he realizes it after the pass from Slack misfires.
Excellent pass by Reggie Slack on the play. He threw the ball to the post. He'd gotten a safety out of the middle of the field. Knox, he was behind Leonard. Stiegel broke it off flat. He should have kept running straight down the field. Would have been 6. Once again, frustration for Winnipeg.
But on that throw, Slack did not take the ball as far back in his throwing motion as he does on many occasions. Now he's operating out of the shotgun, 2nd and 10 from midfield. Looking deep for Wilcox. He's got it.
with one of the best slots in the leagues. Had a tough season thus far, but what he did, he ran the post route. He just took off on the fly. Slack has had the time on all 4 passes in this series. Big play once again for the Bombers.
17 seconds remaining. 1st and 10 Winnipeg from the 16-yard line. Slack. Forced back, looking for someone to throw to. He's running into traffic, and he's taken down by McClanahan. It looked as though Slack could have run to about the 5-yard line, maybe even the end zone, but for some reason he opted to go the other way.
Very poor decision by Reggie Slack. He may have been aware of the time on the clock at the snap, but you have to get rid of the football. You cannot afford the huge losses at this point in the game. But Anthony McClanahan hustling. We've talked about this Calgary defense. McClanahan with the big play. Wilcox up at the top, but that's to the opposite side of the field. That would have been about a 70-yard throw to get the ball there, and Slack was running the opposite direction. Would have been a very tough throw.
Troy Westwood in Winnipeg's last victory against Saskatchewan here at Winnipeg Stadium scored a touchdown on a fake field goal attempt, but I don't think Cal Murphy has that same play in his repertoire for this game.
This would be a very long run. I believe that last one was about 12 yards, and I think Troy had it up to about 37 yards yesterday in the locker room. But this should be a very easy kick for Troy Westwood. He's had a tough year coming in, only hitting on 69% of his field goal attempts, but this is well within his range.
The length of that touchdown run for Westwood increases with each telling of the story, but this will be a 38-yard field goal attempt, and it's good. And that is the final play of the first half, with the Calgary Stampeders enjoying a 12-point advantage. The Stampeders, looking for their 12th win of the year, lead it 29-7.
Welcome back to the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. Stamps in front of the Bombers 29-17 at halftime here in Winnipeg. And the story continues to be the quarterback prodigy, Jeff Garcia of the Stampeders. He's run for 2 TDs. He's thrown for 2 more. Don and James, in about 5 games this year, he's already thrown for more TDs than Doug Flutie did in the entire first half of the season. Should we put him on the ballot for MVP?
Well, Mark, I'm sure there are some people in the league who think that Jeff Garcia, if he leads Calgary to a Grey Cup win, will be the league's MVP. And Jeff Garcia in the first half, James, 14 completions and 19 attempts for 234 yards. But the poise he shows, he took them on their very first possession for a touchdown, capped with a toss to Sean Daniels.
That has been the key, the poise that he's possessed as a quarterback here for Calgary. And Sean Daniels, just a simple little pass route out of the backfield. Garcia rolls out to buy himself more time. Daniels slips into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game.
It was 14-0 when Reggie Slack was able to hook up with Gerald Wilcox for Winnipeg's first score.
The big burst that Winnipeg needed. Wilcox had been their go-to guy for the past couple of seasons, able to get behind the coverage for Winnipeg's first score of the game.
Every time Winnipeg seemed to be getting close, Calgary came right back. Their last touchdown, Dave Sapunjas in the end zone from 27 yards out.
Able to match him stride for stride. Post route by Dave Sapunjas, getting inside perfect position on his defensive back. Strike by Garcia.
Reggie Slack got himself in trouble in the dying seconds and used up a lot of time on the clock.
Well, when you get down in the red zone, you hate to give up a sack, but this Calgary defense has been all over Slack this afternoon. And once again, a great play by Calgary to keep him out of scoring position. Calgary's been playing this way all year long.
It forced Winnipeg to kick a field goal. Troy Westwood splitting the uprights for a 29-17 Calgary halftime lead. Mark?
Well, Don, Cal Murphy has been under siege in this city all week. Newspapers, talk shows on radio calling for him to give it up as GM and coach. The Bombers 4-9 and in jeopardy of missing the playoffs for the first time since '79. Can 9 Grey Cup rings protect Cal Murphy's job? It's 29-17 at the half. The second half kickoff is coming right up when we come back to sunny Manitoba.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by BF Goodrich TA. Performance. Serious performance.
Welcome back to Winnipeg Stadium, where Calgary will kick off to start the second half, leading by 12 points, 29-17. Shannon Baker will field it at the 20-yard line. Baker gets a bit of a hole, and he slipped as he attempted to make the cut and was pinned by Mark McLaughlin at the Calgary 53-yard line. This young man has tremendous speed, and he doesn't require much of a seam to squirt through.
Well, the type of excitement that Winnipeg needs to get started here in the second half. At the end of the first half, they had the great drive. It ended in the sack and the field goal, but to get great field position, Williams hits the seam, as you said, Don, and he's off to the races.
Baker with a 33-yard return. Winnipeg scrimmaging 1st and 10 from the Calgary 52-yard line. Slack operates out of the shotgun on Winnipeg's first possession. His pass is almost picked off. Statistically, this was the story through the first 30 minutes of the ball game. Calgary 228 passing yards. And Garcia threw 2 touchdown strikes and ran for 2 himself.
Controlling the football, the 21st downs that Calgary had, moving the ball up and down the field, keeping the sticks going.
Calgary, the only undefeated team on the road in the CFL this season, and Winnipeg has been unable to win on the road. They've managed 4 wins here at Winnipeg Stadium. Wilcox on the receiving end of a first down throw at the Calgary 38-yard line.
When needed, Gerald Wilcox has been the go-to man, working against Dondre Owens, a rookie defensive back. Wilcox with the deep curl route, Slack with a strike. First down, Winnipeg.
Johnston comes into the ball game for Winnipeg. Pierce comes out at the fullback position. Baker splits wide to the right on 1st and 10 from the Calgary 37-yard line. Hitch screen to Daniel, read perfectly by Calgary, and Marvin Pope is over to make the tackle at the 35. This is the way Reggie Slack has spread the ball around this afternoon. Wilcox has been the favorite target. He's gone to him in the key situation for 88 total yards.
Well, he's been a great target to have, and he's run that post route so well, and the last reception he made was on the curl. He has a great repertoire of pass routes that he runs.
So far, they've not swung the ball out to a back coming out of the backfield. Slack for Baker. Baker with an excellent move to get away from Jordan. I'll tell you, Cal Murphy was most prophetic when he said, put the ball in this young man's hands and he'll make things happen.
Mr. Excitement this afternoon for Winnipeg. He's down at the end of that tackle, but Shannon Baker just left Al Jordan out of his jock out there on that spin move, getting back to the outside, taking it up the sideline.
Baker made his debut in the Labor Day battle with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He is injured over on the far side of the field. He played in the NFL with Atlanta, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville, but he earned the nickname Shannon Baker, the touchdown maker at Florida State. And that nickname has followed him into the CFL.
Came out of a great collegiate program where he was accustomed to receiving the football, but watch the move on Jordan. Jordan had no clue where Baker disappeared to, but he took it up the sideline, got a couple missed tackles by the Stampeders, but great effort by Baker.
It appeared as though he landed in an awkward position, perhaps coming down on the point of the football that was underneath him.
Well, Fears also had a grasp of his face mask that the official missed at the end of that run, which could have possibly cost Calgary a couple of more yards on the play.
Baker this afternoon has 144 yards on returns, and he's had 4 catches for 62 more.
Just been an all-purpose afternoon for Baker, but right now some concern with his health on the sideline.
12:53 remaining in the third quarter. Winnipeg trails by 12, but is threatening to score. Obviously, the injury to Baker is much more serious than first thought. He was in a very awkward position with the football underneath him as he had 2 Stampeders come down on top of him, and this would be a huge blow for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers if they were to lose Baker, who has really fit in well with their offensive scheme. and in particular has excelled in kickoff and punt returns.
Well, we get a chance once again to see the injury as he comes down. You see Fears has his face mask. He's not able to protect himself, but the ball is right underneath, and he gets it caught up in his sternum. And that's the concern right now that the medical staff has with Shannon Baker on the sideline, is a sternal problem with him.
You know, Mark talked about Cal Murphy and some of the heat he is under from the media in Winnipeg. That all pales in comparison to what he went through on July 15th, 1992, when he had successful heart transplant surgery in London, Ontario at the University Hospital there. And he has been a spokesman for the organ donor program since. And a young man from Morris, Manitoba, 21-year-old Ernie Wallner, came in to talk to Cal because he is in London, Ontario, awaiting a transplant. And Cal would like to wish Ernie all the best and is hoping that his transplant will be every bit as successful.
Well, this young man has shown a lot of heart this afternoon in his performance and his effort versus the Calgary Stampeders. He has been one of the players to keep the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in this game. Going back to some of the success that Winnipeg has had on this drive, watch the offensive line. Watch the arc that they'll create back for Reggie Slack right here. They give him the time to find a clear throwing lane out to Baker. And when he can sit back in that comfort zone, you can have a lot of success. And Winnipeg has been marching down the field.
Boyko comes into the ball game as the replacement for Baker. First and goal, Winnipeg from just outside the 5-yard line. Slack looks to the end zone, touchdown! Gerald Wilcox with his second of the day. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers narrow the deficit with 12:35 remaining in the third quarter. And again, after the whistle, words being exchanged. But Wilcox has 2 touchdowns. Winnipeg has 23 points, and Troy Westwood will attempt to narrow the deficit to just 5 points. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have shown a little more offense this afternoon than they have in many games this season, and Wilcox is happy he has a quarterback who knows where he is.
Don, the key is selling the route. He has the separation from Dondre Owens if we can roll it on through, and he squares it off. That is the key. You have to square it off, run it nice and crisp. Wilcox makes the juggling reception for the touchdown. And the O-line, once again, watch the job up front, the big guys in blue. Robson rolling out, cutting down Pope, giving that passing lane to Slack. Touchdown, the result.
And what Wilcox was upset with after the play was the push he took from Owens after he had made the catch and was heading out of bounds.
But, you know, the headsiness of Wilcox not retaliating, costing his team yardage on this kickoff, keeping Winnipeg in this game 29-24.
He's doing a good job on that.
The Bombers drove 5 yards in 52 plays and have cut the deficit to 5 points. Vaughn on the return for Calgary, and Miller takes him out of bounds. Miller is the son of Al Miller, who played with the Bombers in the late 60s. Wade out of the University of Manitoba. And speaking of the University of Manitoba, we should congratulate Dominic Zagari, who plays for the Bisons. Even though they were beaten by UBC 39-10 yesterday, he carried 14 times for 81 yards for a CIAU rushing record of 4,033 total yards.
Has had an outstanding 5-year career at the University of Manitoba.
Swing pass to Stewart. Stewart is caught and brought down by K.D. Williams.
See, it's amazing what a few points from the offensive side of the ball will do for a team. We get an update out of Memphis. Memphis leading Birmingham 7-3, and they manhandled Ottawa last week in a game that we did here on CBC. But it's amazing what a little bit of offense will do for the inspirational play of a defense. You see Bombers hustling once again.
Allen with the touchdown pass to Sean Collins in that 7-3 lead for Memphis over Birmingham. Fake inside. Garcia's in trouble. Lyles is after him. And then K.D. Williams comes up to make the sack at the 30-yard line. You talk about teams getting an inspirational lift from a big play. The Bombers certainly appear to have benefited from the touchdown by Wilcox.
Well, K.D. Williams, the linebacker with the 24-karat gold smile, that time with a great pursuit angle on Jeff Garcia. Garcia is not able to get outside and break contain, has to pull it down, but that's flowing to the ball, that lateral movement that you expect from your linebackers.
Stiegel and Daniel are now back on the punt return unit for Winnipeg. Penalty flag as Martino gets away a good kick. Stiegel goes back to his own 25-yard line. Stiegel was looking for some blocking out. The Bombers were trying to set up the wall to the right, but Stiegel couldn't get there.
And it's going to be a procedure penalty on Calgary. Winnipeg should decline this one because this is good field position out at the 36-yard line. And your offense is on a roll. Go with the momentum.
Procedure. Calgary, number 88. Third down repeated.
So the 5-yard penalty will take the Stampeders back to their own 26-yard line. We remind all auto racing enthusiasts that following the late local news this evening, you'll see the Portuguese Grand Prix on CBC television.
You have to see if one of those guys let me fit in one of those small cars.
James, I can assure you, you would not fit in one of those cars. And I don't think I'd want to be anywhere in the vicinity if you were behind the wheel. I've seen you drive. The wind has shifted from the south to the west, and another high snap. Daniel and Stiegel got a little mixed up as to who was going to field it. Finally, Daniel took it and brings it up to the 54-yard line. But McClanahan and Wetmore are involved in an altercation behind the play. But there's no penalty flag.
Don, we got ourselves a good old-fashioned football game. This is what this game is all about, a little contact, a little rough play. You know, you don't go out there and expect the pillow fight to take place.
Well, the Bombers benefited from the illegal procedure call. The previous kick by Martino had traveled 55. This one 46 yards, and Winnipeg scrimmages 1st and 10 from the midfield stripe. Slack for Stiegel, and Stiegel takes it out of bounds, close to another first down. Slack's favorite target, sorry James, this afternoon has been Wilcox. He has caught 6 passes for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I like what they're doing offensively now. That time Slack walked up, took the quick count, just came right up under center, took the snap, fired it out, and that's what made the play so effective. He didn't give Calgary time to get set. You see a defensive lineman still adjusting. He was able to get the ball away in 3 steps. First down, the result for Winnipeg. Very close to one.
After today's game, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have 4 games remaining. They're in Hamilton on the 29th.
17.
They're in Toronto on October the 9th. They've got Toronto here at Winnipeg Stadium on the 14th. Then they have a bye week, and on October 29th, they conclude the season against Ottawa. They are just shy of a first down.
This is one where you like to waste one, where you want to go up top because you only have inches, and it's almost a guarantee in the CFL given the yard at the line of scrimmage. This is where Reggie Slack should look to go downfield and possibly get 6.
Boyko, who has replaced Baker at a wideout position, splits to the right, Daniel to the left. 2nd and inches and all sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage. Now, did Walby come out of his stance prematurely, or did Johnson move across the line of scrimmage?
And you couldn't miss him. It was Chris Walby who's going to be flagged for illegal procedure.
2nd down repeated.
The big offensive tackle sitting out at the right side of your screen, just up at the top. You'll see him at the corner of your screen. He pulls out of his stance prematurely. You can't miss him. Cost his team a critical down on 2nd and inches.
At 6'7" and 330 pounds, it's very difficult to miss number 63, Chris
And he might have some change in his pocket.
Inside fake to Blaze Bryant. Intended for Stiegel deep. He's got it.
You got 2 receivers running in the same area, but Stiegel never gives up on this football. He fights through Owens. He goes up. He catches the ball. Great effort by Stiegel. Excellent toss by Slack. Great execution by Winnipeg.
And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the lead for the first time today as Reggie Slack finds Stiegel down in the goal area, and what a job he did of battling D'Andre Owens for the football. The injured Calgary player is defensive back Kenton Leonard. He was defending against Gerald Wilcox as the 2 receivers, Stiegel and Wilcox, were in the same area.
You know, they already been shaken up in the secondary because D'Andre Owens is playing in the backfield already, so that would be a huge loss of Kenton Leonard, Don, and this has become a very close game, and so you're going to need all the healthy bodies you can get. The key to this line, the key to this play is the offensive line. If we can roll through, as Slack is allowed the time to get outside, and if we get a freeze, Walby right here seals this corner. You get Johnstone here creating a line, and Slack is able to get outside with time. No obstruction in front of the quarterback. He can set up and deliver the ball down the field, and that is the key. His offensive line has really stepped up to bat here in the second half, and Winnipeg has been taking advantage of it.
9:17 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Winnipeg leading 30-29 as Kenton Leonard limps off with the assistance of athletic therapist Pat Clayton to the Calgary bench. While Stiegel lists collecting $2 bills as one of his hobbies, he may be collecting a lot more of them if he continues to make plays like that.
They're easy to find in Canada.
So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers now enjoy a 2-point lead, and we'll be back with the Winnipeg kickoff after this. Well, it took the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 3 plays to put it in the end zone. A 50-yard pass to Milt Stiegel put the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in front for the first time. Quarterback Reggie Slack very sharp in this 3rd quarter. He's completed 6 of 7 for 111 yards. Coleman on the return. Penalty flag in the play as Coleman goes down at the 28-yard line. In the 43-28 victory on Tuesday at McMahon Stadium, Coleman had a 108-yard return on a missed Winnipeg field goal try. A 64-yard kickoff, an 18-yard run back that time by Coleman. And this is the way the scoring has gone today. On their first possession, Daniels on the receiving end of a Garcia throw. Then Garcia ran it in for a 14-0 lead. Slack hit Wilcox to make it 14-7.
Calgary, number 44 on the run.
Then a single by McLaughlin on a missed field goal attempt made it 15-7. Then Garcia got his 2nd touchdown. It looked as though Calgary was in control. But Winnipeg fought back. Slack ran it in. Then Calgary with a touchdown to Dave Sapunjas before the half ended. Troy Westwood kicked a field goal. But in this 3rd quarter, Wilcox and Stiegel have scored touchdowns on passes from Slack, and Winnipeg leads at 31-29. On the return, a penalty against Calgary. Backs the ball up to the 9-yard line. The handoff to Stewart. Stewart broke the initial contact and then struggles forward for about 4 yards. And another late penalty flag is thrown.
You got Romano and Clark involved in this one. Very foolish play, whoever the penalty is going to be on, because it was well after the ball was dead on the play.
I don't recall seeing as many flags post-whistle as we have seen this afternoon.
Well, I think a big part of that came when you broke out those league stats on penalties that you jinxed this game.
All my fault, is it?
We'll accept
I think the
that.
guy wearing number 58 has had something to do with some of the penalty calls.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, number 59, Calgary. Disqualification, number 58, Winnipeg, physical contact with an official.
Wow, not only is that going to cost the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this afternoon, but it's going to cost Greg Clark in the pocketbook unnecessary contact with an official. And that really hurts Winnipeg, a team already thin today at the linebacking position.
Well, Dale Lyles had gone down earlier. Now they're going to lose Clark. Miller is all that they have left in the backup position. Right here, you'll see as the official tries to get in the middle, and he takes a swipe at Romano, and the official is hit as he's coming into the middle. The swing was not intentional towards the official, but the contact was made.
Well, Cal Murphy has seen his team fight back to get the lead. And now he realizes that the task of trying to defend this lead will be an ominous one when you lose a key ingredient defensively such as Greg Clark.
One of the things the officials must recognize, though, when they run into the middle of a scuffle between two players is that they may be the one to initiate the contact. And I think that's what occurred in the Clark incident, but he's going to miss the rest of the game nevertheless.
So Calgary now has a first down from the from their own 24-yard line. The handoff to Stewart. Stewart going wide, and he's caught from behind by K.D. Williams. Williams has played a solid game this afternoon from his linebacking position. He's been making tackles all over the field.
K.D. Williams has really played inspirational football this afternoon. I mean, he's been very impressive. Jamie Crysdale, the center, has done a fine job in handling the defensive front of Winnipeg. Kelly Rush has just been stalemated all afternoon. He's been totally ineffective for Winnipeg.
2nd and 2, Calgary. The Stamps are at their own 33-yard line. Stewart will carry for a Calgary first down as he gets across the 35.
You know, we spoke about how this offensive line has been retooled for the Calgary Stampeders. 5 new positions this year for the offensive linemen. Rocco Romano, last year's runner-up, is outstanding lineman in the league with the down block on Rush. Rush fights him off, comes in and helps out on the tackle, but they've had an excellent game this afternoon.
Ryan Carey into the ball game as a 6th defensive back. Wade Miller goes out. 1st and 10, Calgary. Intended for Pee Wee Smith, and Garcia may have been hurried in his throw by the pressure from Johnson and Kelly Rush.
Well, some concern on the Calgary sideline. The Winnipeg defense has picked up the tempo here in the second half, and their offense has responded by putting points on the scoreboard. You'll see Garcia right here as he's feeling the pressure from Leonard Johnson coming low, fighting towards the quarterback, rushing him into an early throw.
6:55 remaining in the third quarter. From the shotgun, Garcia looks for Sapunjas, and he's got it, but he'll be a yard short, it would appear, of a first down.
That's good defense by Winnipeg. You do not want to allow the receivers to get behind you if you're a defensive back. Keep everything in front of you, in front of the first down markers. And that time, an excellent job by Sampson, the free safety, of coming up, stopping Sapunjas short of the first down. And Calgary's going to go for it on 3rd and 1.
Well, that comes as absolutely no surprise. Garcia will keep, should have it. K.D. Williams tried to get involved and prevent him from crossing the 45-yard line, but behind the surge of the offensive line, Garcia has the first down. At least it appears as though he has it. They're signaling for a measurement.
I don't know, Don. This is all going to depend on the spot. There was a tremendous surge by that Winnipeg defensive front. They got up under the Calgary offensive lineman, and from the spot of the ball, Calgary didn't make it.
Well, the spot is important, and no, they did not make it. I thought he had, but the Winnipeg defensive line stopped the third down gamble. I don't think Wally Buono was enamored with the spot of the football.
But if we get a replay of it, watch the Winnipeg defensive front. Now they're playing football like football is designed to be played. They come up underneath the Calgary offensive lineman, but K.D. Williams comes across, slanting down from his linebacker position and makes the stop and celebrates afterwards.
From the 45, Winnipeg 1st and 10. Slack deep down the sidelines, incomplete. He was looking for Gerald Wilcox. Word from the dressing room on Shannon Baker, who was injured, is that he has suffered a shoulder separation and obviously won't be back and might not be back for the balance of the season, which is another huge blow to the Bombers.
Don, and spoke about it earlier that Winnipeg had used 13 different receivers this season in their offense, and that's another blow with losing Baker, who they felt was starting to come into his own, and now they have to go out and find another replacement for him.
When you look at the Winnipeg receivers who have participated in a game this year, it looks like a training camp roster. Stiegel on the receiving end of the throw. Touchdown, his second of the game. Did an excellent job of fighting off the defensive back down the sidelines, and Reggie Slack delivered it perfectly. Stiegel said after his debut on Tuesday that he had a lot to learn about the Canadian Football League and the pass patterns he was expected to run. Obviously, he's a quick learner. Troy Westwood adds the point after with 5:08 remaining in the third quarter. Winnipeg leads 38-29.
One of the things that Stiegel has learned, if we can roll this through just a little bit, about the CFL is that you have to utilize your hands. Watch right here as he pushes off and on, freeze it right there. Right here, he had the hands on the back, pushed him away, got him turned around, and he was able to make the adjustment to the football as Owens was falling away for the touchdown. But great effort by Stiegel, and Reggie Slack jubilant after throwing his second touchdown pass to Stiegel this afternoon.
The second to Stiegel in this third quarter as Reggie Slack accepts congratulations coming to the sideline. 2 touchdowns for Stiegel, 5 catches for 117 yards.
This Winnipeg Blue Bomber team today has really responded after the plummeting they took last week in Calgary, now coming back home in front of their home crowd and possibly putting together thus far their best performance of the season.
Well, they plummeted on Tuesday. They also took a pummeling in Calgary.
In other words, they took a whipping.
Reggie Slack on his last 5 throws has fired 3 touchdown passes. This is Coleman on the return. Well, you talk about people who create excitement. This guy certainly does, and he provides Calgary with instant field position, bringing it back to the 45-yard line. The gizmo notwithstanding, there are people in Calgary who think he's the most exciting kick returner in the CFL.
Well, most exciting kick returner, he would be right there in that group. You have Wright in Baltimore also that you have to consider, but you have to really look at him. Watch the blocking that takes place here. You have to consider Coleman as possibly Calgary's most valuable player because of all of the things, intangibles that he brings to this club. His kick returns, his coverage on defense, just an outstanding individual.
A 58-yard run back, 1st and 10 Calgary from the Winnipeg 46. Swing pass to Vaughn. Good defensive tackle by Ken Barres, who read the play and came up to make the stop for a loss of about 3 yards.
Winnipeg with just great effort defensively. Burris coming up, reading the slip screen, getting up underneath the blockers, and making the stop behind the line of scrimmage.
Look what Slack has done in this quarter compared to the passing numbers for Garcia. Garcia's under pressure again, and he looks for Danielson, incomplete. Well, you know, James, you made the comment early in the third quarter that the emotional lift Winnipeg got from the touchdown that they scored early would inspire the defense, and that appears to be the case.
You know, football at times can be such a roller coaster ride, but every great offense needs a great defense because you have to be able to force your opponent off the field. Kelly Rush, we're getting a look at him right there. He's had a troubled game this afternoon, but when it's counted, these guys have been able to pick themselves up and make the plays defensively.
Martino has had to deal with a couple of high snaps. There's another. Daniel will field it back at the 11-yard line, and he won't go anywhere. Ken Barres thought that he might have had a block on the third down punt, but Martino got it away in time. 3:35 remains in the third quarter. Shifted from the south to the west, and it is swirling. It is causing some problems. Third down punts are reacting a little differently now than they were earlier in the game. This guy has been reacting in this third quarter, and so has the receiver, Milt Stiegel. Reggie Slack and Stiegel have combined in the third quarter to erase a Calgary lead and put Winnipeg in front.
Don, one of the things that have made Stiegel so exciting and successful this afternoon is the ability to stop and go. Slack gets the ball to him, but once he makes the catch, the adjustments that he makes, watch the stop, the acceleration back out of that burst, picking up the first down.
Slack has passed for over 300 yards, and Winnipeg has a first down just shy of the 30-yard line. Stiegel again! He's got it! Boy, in this third quarter, Reggie Slack is having a field day against the Calgary secondary. What's going on?
Well, Stiegel also, Don, if you're going to go to the well, keep going to the well until it runs dry. Stiegel has had the number of the Calgary secondary. Dondre Owens, for the second time in this quarter that he's been able to take deep, has had problems with Stiegel, but Stiegel has been stepping up to the big game performance that Winnipeg needs.
Well, Calgary in the first 12 games of the year had averaged 20.6 points against. Winnipeg already has 38, and the Bombers are looking for more. Slack was fortunate that he got the pass away, and then was doubly lucky in that it was not intercepted as he threw it towards Gerald Wilcox, but really overthrew his slot back. And fortunately for Slack, he also threw the safety, Greg Knox.
Well, that time he got a break. Alondra Johnson putting a lot of pressure on the Winnipeg quarterback, coming through cleanly, wrapping up Slack, but Slack strong enough to deliver the pass downfield.
Stiegel has now been on the receiving end of 7 of those Reggie Slack throws for 168 yards. Over the head of Alan Boyko, who has taken over from Shannon Baker following the third quarter injury to Baker, and the Winnipeg drive stalls at the Calgary 47-yard line.
You know, you look at this position on the field that Winnipeg is in, and you look at their record at 4-9, and as well as they've played, even though you have the great punter in Bob Cameron, would it be too much of a risk to even to take the challenge at this point in the game and gamble?
Well, I don't know, James. If they attempt a field goal and they miss it, the ball comes back to the line of scrimmage, and I think that's just giving up too much field position as far as the risk factor compared to the number of points they would pick up is concerned. Cameron was attempting to angle it to the sidelines. Coleman let it go, and it rolls through the end zone for a single point. So Winnipeg now holds a 10-point advantage, and the veteran Bob Cameron shakes his head as he comes off. He was trying to angle it to the sidelines. That was a 68-yard punt. 266 consecutive games for this man, and he is not even thinking about retirement.
And I go back to my question about should they have gambled. It's only a 12-yard difference. You were going to get the single either way. Calgary would have not brought a missed field goal out of the end zone. I would have took that shot.
Well, that's why you're up here and Cal Murphy is down on the sidelines, I guess.
He's 4-9 this year, isn't he?
Stewart takes the pass, can't get away from Del Lyles. But each time Lyles makes a tackle, he's very slow in getting up. He's been dragging the left arm all afternoon.
And this is what the injury situation in the CFL forces you into. When you don't have enough bodies to replace players who are injured, you've lost Clark out of the game. Lyles has to come back in, and he's playing out there with one arm, basically.
Talk about a guy playing with heart. Del Lyles certainly is today, the third-year linebacker out of Utah State. Pitts makes the catch. He's got a first down as he takes it to the 50 of Winnipeg. Del Lyles not only forced to make tackles, but he has a tough job of defending against the likes of an Alan Pitts.
Well, there's only so long you can keep that big antelope quiet, and Alan Pitts goes over the middle so gracefully, excuse me, and makes that reception for the first down.
First and 10 from the 51. Calgary trailing by 10. Stewart, the ball carrier. He lost the football, and Calgary was able to get it back.
Bruce Beaton down there able to recover that fumble. Big break for Calgary, because if Winnipeg had gotten that ball with the momentum they had, they could have possibly taken it on back down the field. But watch Del Lyles as he fills in the hole. This guy, I mean, you talk about heart. He has a heart the size of Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon, playing the type of game he's playing.
This will be the final play of the third quarter, barring penalty. Garcia out of the shotgun, second and 10. Sapunjas makes the catch and struggles forward for a first down. He got inside the 40-yard line. Excellent play by the Canadian slot back to keep the Calgary drive alive with 15 minutes remaining at Winnipeg Stadium.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by BF Goodrich TA. Performance. Serious performance.
We talked about some of the problems Del Lyles was having with his left arm early in the football game. He is continuing to have those problems, but he remains in there. Winnipeg has been forced to make adjustments defensively, with Greg Clark being thrown out of the game. Young Wade Miller has been pressed into his spot as a linebacker, but Winnipeg is going more with 6 defensive backs since Clark has been ejected than with Miller playing at a linebacking position in his place. First play of the fourth quarter, first and 10, Calgary from the Winnipeg 39. Garcia down the sidelines for Pee Wee Smith. He can't hang on. And again, he was all by his lonesome, but Garcia just overthrew him.
Great play call coming out of the timeout starting the quarter. Garcia had Smith in a wheel route on the outside. He took it up the corner, just overthrew it with the wind behind his back. He didn't gauge it properly, and he got too much of a tail on it, and it just overflew his wide open receiver down the sideline.
Only twice previously this year has Calgary given up more than 30 points. That was against San Antonio, and in their only loss to Birmingham, 32 and 31 points respectively. Pitts makes the catch, loses the football. They rule no catch. Sapunjas thought he could chase it down in the end zone, but they rule that Pitts never had control.
That was an excellent pass by Jeff Garcia. He had Alan Pitts on the deep post slant route, got behind the linebacker Lyles, who was trying to cover him from the inside, and Pitts just couldn't maintain possession of the football. He came to the ground, but he was juggling the ball the whole time, never had possession, but Lyles giving an excellent effort, only running with one arm. Pitts normally a sure-handed receiver.
A 45-yard field goal attempt by Mark McLaughlin. It's wide. In the end zone, Alan Boyko is going to take some time off the clock before conceding the single point. So Wally Buono sees his team now trailing by 9, the most points the Stampeders have given up in any game this year.
When you look at what Winnipeg has scored, Don, coming into this game averaging only 18 points a ball game, and they've scored 39. They've basically doubled their season average coming into this game. They have to be very pleased, but I don't know if 39 will be enough against Calgary. They're going to have to find a way to get down the field and at least come up with another 3 if they want to have a chance at winning this ball game.
24,598 at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon, and when the Bombers fell behind 22-7 in the first half, I doubt if even their most devoted followers anticipated they'd be able to come back against a team that has given up fewer points than any other in the CFL this year. Slack intended the pass for Boyko. Boyko had slipped on the sidelines, and both Jordan and Dondre Owens were defending against him. Slack really had an impressive third quarter, and that's why Winnipeg's passing totals are at 336 yards as compared to the 259 for Garcia and the Stamps.
Well, just an outstanding performance, and this is what the problem they've had all year at quarterback, and Slack for today seems to have solved that problem. The last time we were here, it was the McDougal show. This afternoon, it's been Reggie Slack.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg. There appeared to be a mix-up. Slack was looking for that quick pass, and there may have been a misread on the part of the intended receiver.
What it looked like, he was looking for a shuttle pass up the middle, and as he turned, his back was not there, and Reggie had to tuck it and improvise with it. He was looking to shovel the ball off to Johnstone. He had to tuck it and go out to the sideline, short of the first down, forced into a punting situation once again.
Well, Reggie Slack has certainly been the star of the second half of this football game. Now Bob Cameron will try to force the Stampeders back deep into their own zone. A driving kick that Vaughn fields at the 25. He gets a couple of blocks, finds an opening, but there are penalty flags. Vaughn is caught from behind at the midfield stripe, but there are penalty flags back at the 30. We'll sort it out when we return to Winnipeg Stadium.
CTEL. We make saving simpler with Real Plus.
A 36-yard punt by Bob Cameron, but Vaughn's 20-yard return was wiped out by blocking infraction on the part of the Stampeders.
Great effort on special team. Wade Miller right here coming down, but Vaughn, I mean, a very elusive runner, and that's what it takes, full effort on all phases of the game, and Calgary right now seems to be catching its stride here in the fourth quarter.
Well, the Stampeders led 22-7 at one point in the first half. They now trail by 9 with 12:22 remaining in the football game. Garcia throws to the sidelines to Vaughn. He stepped out of bounds with a gain of 6. Shannon Baker was injured in the third quarter after making a reception and taking the ball down the sidelines. The word is a shoulder separation.
This shit's ours. We let that fucking come take that shit.
A very disappointing loss for the Bombers offense.
Second and 4. Garcia has Vaughn open on the other side of the field, and Vaughn has got a first down. Sampson and Watson bring him down at the 50. And there's another injured Winnipeg player, and earlier Cal Murphy was telling Mark Lee that he has never seen as many players go down in the course of a game as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have had this afternoon. Greg Clark has already been ejected from the football game. He's been disqualified. Dal Lyles is playing with an injured left arm. K.D. Williams, who has been all over the field making tackles, now must go out for a minimum 3 plays. And young Wade Miller will be forced into action.
Well, one of the things you always fear when you're a defensive player, they have a rule in against this, is called a chop block, and that's when you're engaged with one offensive player, and we're going to get it right here as he's engaged with Stewart, and Beaton comes back as he rolls off of that and rolls up under his leg, and you see K.D. Williams still down on the field. Beaton did not go at him with any malicious intent. It looks like a clean block, but K.D. Williams is down and in considerable pain at this point.
Well, they're examining the left leg of K.D. Williams, and Cal Murphy sees his team in front by 9, but his reserves are becoming thoroughly depleted.
They become very thin, and when you talk about the young linebacker Wade Miller now being forced into action, 2 Canadian linebackers right now, Winnipeg is forced to play in the game. They got the start with Brandon Rogers, his first CFL start. Now Wade Miller in his first CFL game action in the defense. He's played specialty teams now. Now Winnipeg is really going to have to make some coverage adjustments, because this is where Calgary can really exploit you.
So K.D. Williams comes to the bench. Wade Miller goes in at a linebacking position. And Calgary has it 1st and 10. The Stamps at their own 50-yard line. Garcia gives to Stewart. Stewart can't get away from Wade Miller. He fought off the block and makes the tackle and celebrates.
Don, I bet you that's the biggest play of his life thus far through college and everything else. He watches, he gets great breakdown. Watch as he squats, he gets up under the block of Foles, back inside, and wraps up low. He didn't try to challenge Stewart, he just wanted to make the tackle, and that was the key.
Well, for those people who may recall his father, Al was a fierce linebacker for the Blue Bombers in the 65 to 67 era. Ball. Intended for Pitts. Say goodbye. Alan Pitts down the sidelines, got in behind Watson, and he's got 6. That's how quickly this explosive Calgary offense can strike. On 2nd and 10, Garcia spotted Alan Pitts, his 11th touchdown of the year.
And Don, what happens in this situation is that your linebackers do not get back and get the jams. They ran the wheel route. Vaughn came inside, took Dale Lyles inside away. They didn't get the support over the top. Pitts ran the streak down the sideline. Touchdown pass from Garcia.
Good shot, Jeff. There you go. 2-2.
The 3rd touchdown pass of the afternoon for Jeff Garcia. 19 now in the less than 5 complete games he has played as a starting quarterback for Calgary. McLaughlin adds the point after. And we've got a 2-point football game with 10:21 remaining at Winnipeg Stadium.
And it goes back to when I spoke about should have Winnipeg have gone for the points instead of punting the ball, and all they got was 1, and they possibly could have gotten a 3. And it's a 2-point game right now. But Garcia, excellent afternoon.
A 60-yard pass to Alan Pitts, the capper on this 75-yard drive. The 11th TD of the year as Reggie Slack continues to stay loose at the Winnipeg bench.
And he's had an outstanding game. You think about Winnipeg's offense having put 39 points on the scoreboard this afternoon, but the big problem with their team has been their defense, giving up an average of 38 points a game on the season, and right now they're at 37. How many more points are left in this Winnipeg offense?
Well, Winnipeg's big problem this year has been scoring points, but Wally Buono said Winnipeg has always had success playing at home, and they seem to be a different football team at Winnipeg Stadium than they are on the road. And this has certainly been a reversal of form for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers today compared to many of the games they've played this season, particularly away from home. This is Milt Stiegel, who has scored 2 touchdowns in the second half on the return. There's a penalty flag on the play. The initial reaction is a face mask call. And if that's the case, it will improve Winnipeg's field position.
Major foul. Face mask. Calgary number 41. First down.
The call goes against Anthony McClanahan. Calgary trailing by 2, and the Stampeders will be at home next Saturday to take on the Toronto Argonauts. 23-20 losers to Saskatchewan last night. We'll have that game for you on CBC television. And then on Sunday, the second half of the home-and-home affair between BC and Edmonton. Edmonton winning 33-18 on Friday night. Penalty flag as Johnson had encroached upon the 1-yard gap at the line of scrimmage, and I think that was the reason for the call.
Well, Johnson creeped into that neutral zone. He's been quiet for the most part this afternoon. The offensive line has done a good job, but Stiegel has really stepped
Offside.
up.
Calgary number 81. First down repeated.
Stiegel has really stepped up here in the second half and become the primary target for quarterback Reggie Slack, and he has responded with an outstanding effort.
22 unanswered points in the third quarter helped Winnipeg erase a 12-point halftime deficit. But the Bombers are now clinging precariously to a 2-point edge. First and 5. Slack is trying to go for it all with Stiegel. He can't catch up with it. Stiegel was racing down the sidelines. Greg Frères was running with him. Stiegel scored 2 third-quarter touchdowns in that 22-point explosion. And Slack was attempting to give him a third.
Well, it was an excellent effort that time by Stiegel. Slack with just a little bit too much arm, airing it out. He had gotten behind Frères, and he had a great chance at that one.
Second and 5, Winnipeg. The ball is at Winnipeg's 54. The Bombers have had success on second down conversions so far today, operating at better than 50%. Handoff inside to Blaze Bryant. He lost the football.
It was a shovel pass. It was a shovel pass. It's going to be incomplete. Winnipeg will have to punt the ball.
You're right. It was a little shovel pass inside. Pierce came up with the football.
Blaze Bryant, you'll see right here, just takes his eyes off the ball at the last moment, looking for the hole up front.
And it was there.
It was there. All he had to do was keep his eyes on the ball and run. But you spoke about it earlier, that he's been running so tentatively, and that's part of the problem that he's had, and he just took his eyes off the ball, forces Winnipeg into a punting situation.
9:04 remaining. Winnipeg leading 39-37.
Beating the 53 to 2 each other.
Good third down kick by Bob Cameron. Vaughn retreats to the 7, loses the football, gets it back. Now looks for some blocking help and returns it to the 15-yard line. .840 is the time remaining at Winnipeg Stadium, with the Stampeders trailing by 2 points. One other game this afternoon in the CFL. Birmingham leads Memphis 12-10. That game is in the second quarter. Calgary 1st and 10. The Stamps are at their own 15-yard line. Garcia deep down the sidelines for Pee Wee Smith, incomplete. He was being covered by Jaron Bolden. Garcia attempting to strike quickly. But Bolden was able to defend against Pee Wee Smith. Wally Buono was saying yesterday that this season, regardless of how many regular season wins this team comes up with, will not be complete unless they win the Grey Cup. They went 15-3 in 1993, lost the Western Final. 15-3 again last year, lost the Western Final. Currently at 11-1, but they have a Grey Cup in their sights. Pitts makes the catch, breaks the tackle, is caught by K.D. Williams, who is back in the ball game, gets it up to the 30-yard line. Since Winnipeg lost to Calgary in the 1992 Grey Cup, the Stampeders have gone 41-7, but have not returned to the Grey Cup.
You know, that's a very impressive regular season record, and any club in any level of football would love to post that many victories, but the ultimate goal of any professional team is to win a championship, and Calgary hasn't made it in the past 2 seasons.
From the 32, 1st and 10, Garcia's pass to Danielson to the 40-yard line. He's a couple of yards short of a first down. Danielson comes into the ball game. Sean Daniels will go out when they bring in the extra receivers.
But it seems that Jeff Garcia is now getting back on track the way he was playing in the first half. And that last drive where he hit Pitts for the touchdown, he comes back to Danielson here with a great leaping effort to pull it in close to another first down.
Pitts with 4 catches for 111 yards. That's now 7 100-yard reception games this season. Tony Stewart, the ball carrier, 2nd and short. Sean Daniels into the ball game. Danielson out, and now Daniels goes to the bench, and Danielson comes back in.
Well, DD, huh?
Daniels for Danielson. I hope they don't get confused over at the Calgary bench.
Paychecks are probably a little different.
Operating out of the shotgun from the 43. Garcia for Sapunjas. He takes it to the turf at the 50-yard line. 6:03 remaining in the 4th quarter.
Sapunjas running his route against Sampson. He gets the push off the separation. Garcia recognizes when he makes the break, delivers the ball. Sapunjas has time to make the adjustment.
The 5th catch of the day for David Sapunjas, who came into this football game as the leading receiver in the CFL. 85 receptions. And now another. And Sapunjas now has 91 catches for the year. And Calgary, most importantly, has another first down and is moving into the field goal range of Mark McLaughlin.
Garcia right now has a precision of a surgeon. He is operating down the field, picking apart this Winnipeg defense. They have a lot of new players in this secondary and linebacking core, and he has recognized the weak spots.
First and 10, the ball is at the Winnipeg 50. The handoff to Stewart. Stewart gets a couple of good blocks, and he's got another Calgary first down. And right now, this drive of the Stampeders is reminiscent of the ease with which they moved the football on their first possession in the opening quarter.
You pass the ball so successfully, but then you come back with the counter play. And the key is getting your offensive linemen out in front of the run. You're going to get Pangelitis here in the pull from the backside. They're coming around. Stewart up inside with the counter action. Perfect run on the play. We'll get back to that.
Live action as Garcia looks over the middle, and he's got Pee Wee Smith open, and Smith breaks a couple of tackles. I think he was contemplating a lateral to Terry Vaughn, and Vaughn was anticipating that he might get the ball, but he wisely hung on.
But excellent effort by Smith, but Garcia getting the ball to his receivers in time. That has been a key all afternoon, the arm strength of a Jeff Garcia, able to put the ball on a rope. Smith making the catch in stride, getting down inside the 10-yard line.
3:59 remaining. Calgary first and goal from the Winnipeg 8-yard line. Garcia has been like a surgeon dissecting the Winnipeg defense, and they have the lead again with Tony Stewart taking it into the end zone. Calgary moved the ball from deep in its own zone from the 15-yard line, and now Huffnagel and Buono are signaling go for 2 points on the conversion try. That's where the Calgary Stampeders will scrimmage first.
The surge of the offensive line up front. See the get off of the football. They just open up a gaping hole. Bruce Beaton, as you see right there, just driving off the Winnipeg defenders. Tony Stewart marching into the end zone for the touchdown. Calgary looking to add to its lead.
A 2-point convert attempt. Garcia initially couldn't find the receiver on the left side. Now to the back of the end zone, and the two Calgary receivers collided. Stewart and Pitts ran into each other, and the score holds at 43-39 with 3:13 remaining.
We have the gamut of bicycles, from children's bicycle right up to a mountain bike to a racing bike. Our product obviously makes it special. We have a dynamite product. I use the Advantage account codes to be cost efficient. With Advantage, I get one invoice per month. It's broken down exactly the way I want it, by territory, across Canada, by rep. The Advantage codes make my life very easy. I mean, it makes it easier for my budget. Being cost conscious is very important to every business in this day and age.
Since that tree began growing, I've seen a lot of changes. But one thing that will never change is Bumper to Bumper's commitment to service, quality, and value. It's nice to know there are still some things you can count on. Bumper to Bumper for all your car and truck needs.
Tonight on CBC, starting at 7, By Way of the Stars. The series conclusion.
Someone has to go after them. What are you going to do with me?
Then on the Sunday movie at 8, a big-time news photographer is drawn back to his roots.
No, you try it.
Medicine River stars
Stop.
Graham Greene and Tom Jackson. Next, Sunday Report.
Join me for Issues That Matter.
Followed by Venture.
Tonight, a special treat.
An evening of great television starting at 7 tonight.
Watch this year's winner of the CBC Achievement Award at BCIT, Loose, The Best Laid Plans, this Saturday at 4.
Well, that's what coaches like to see. A 9-play, 95-yard drive, and Tony Stewart put it in the end zone.
Well, you get Bruce Beaton right here with a seal block. Denny Chronopoulos coming down. Tony Stewart is going to come around. You could drive a bus through this gaping hole right there. This offensive line has had an outstanding day of blocking, and Tony Stewart waltzes into the end zone for another Calgary touchdown.
43-39, Calgary leads Winnipeg. And Garcia has clicked on 27 of 37 passes for 403 yards. And Tony Stewart, with the touchdown run, has now rushed for 107 yards this afternoon. Stiegel mishandled the kickoff, and he was very alert over there when that ball bounced high. He simply knocked it out of bounds. He didn't attempt to field it.
Well, a headsy play by this young man who's had an outstanding afternoon, but misjudging the ball. Once again, a player taking his eyes off of the football prior to making the reception.
Now Reggie Slack will try and make something happen for Winnipeg with 3:12 remaining, and what he has to make happen is he has to put the ball in the end zone because Winnipeg trails by 4. First and 10, Winnipeg from the 30-yard line. Slack had some time, couldn't find a receiver. He'll be close to a first down, running up to the 40. 2:50 is the time remaining here at Winnipeg Stadium. Calgary in front. With 2:50 remaining, the Bombers are looking at 2nd and 1, the ball just shy of their own 40-yard line. After holding such a hot hand in the third quarter, Reggie Slack has missed on his last 4 pass attempts. This is only the 3rd time this year that a Bomber quarterback has thrown for better than 300 yards. And Sam Garza, now with the Ottawa Rough Riders, did it in the 2 previous times. Blaze Bryant stopped right in the hole by McClanahan. What a huge defensive play by McClanahan. But right now, I don't think the Bombers have any alternative but to gamble on 3rd down.
Well, it's time that they have to gamble, Don. They passed on one earlier where they possibly should have went through a field goal attempt. But look at the surge by the Calgary defensive front. Anthony McClanahan once again coming in off of his wheel linebacker position, slanting down, making the play in the backfield. You got to at least put a hand on him, force him to restart his momentum.
Cal Murphy sends in the punting unit. Yesterday at practice, we saw Winnipeg work on a pass out of punt formation. And Bob Cameron, when he was at Acadia, was a quarterback, a former Heck Crichton Trophy winner, so he is capable of throwing. But he's going to kick. Coleman fields the ball. And Coleman makes a couple of people miss and then goes down at the 30-yard line. 2:13 the time remaining. And Winnipeg now needs a big effort from the defensive unit. There's a penalty flag on the play.
Well, this has been a game that's seen its share of penalty flags this afternoon.
Okay, so dead ball.
The call is against Calgary.
I have 11.
Alma Coleman will now identify the culprit.
Dead ball foul.
And another dead ball foul.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, number 96, Calgary, 1st down.
Zisakovic, I mean, we do a halftime feature on the guy, and he wants some more airtime, so he comes out and gets a personal foul that's going to back Calgary up even further. Now, if Winnipeg has any gas left in the tank, they need to expend it right here defensively because this is their biggest series of the game.
This is where they must stop the most potent offense in the league if they're to engineer the biggest upset of the year in the CFL. Garcia's pass incomplete, intended for Pitts. Stamps were a little fortunate there that the way the ball hung up as Pitts got a hand on it, it wasn't intercepted.
If not for being 6'4", he wouldn't have gotten to that football. Garcia being forced out of the pocket once again, throws the ball back across his body, but Pitts, Darrell Sampson had a bead on the ball, but Pitts batted it away.
2nd and 10 Calgary from their own 15. This is where their last series started. And they marched the length of the field for a touchdown. Garcia's pass incomplete, intended for Pitts again. And Winnipeg is going to get the ball back with 2:02 remaining.
That ball was deflected at the line of scrimmage because Pitts was open in front of the coverage beyond the 1st down sticks. But as you teach your defensive linemen, if you cannot get to the quarterback, put your hands up and watch Stan Mikkelus at the line of scrimmage get a nick on that football, disrupt the flight of the ball, and Pitts came up short and didn't get the completion.
Winnipeg should get the ball back with what will probably be their last chance to pull it out close to midfield. Big kick by Martino, taken by Tim Daniel. And Daniel is brought down at his own 49-yard line. Something the Stampeders have prided themselves on. Special teams coverage, and they certainly did a good job there on Tim Daniel.
The big kick you talked about by Martino, getting the ball out past midfield. Slack 0 for 4 in his last 4 pass attempts. Now he needs to have the composure. He needs to come out and play the short game, drive his team down, and nickel and dime to get into the red zone.
That was a big kick by Martino, a 50-yard punt. 1:50 the time remaining. Boyko wide to the right, Daniel to the left. The pass for Daniel, he's open. Will he get a 1st down? He does, to the 50 of Calgary.
Spoke about the nickel and diming. He just picked up the 1st dime on 1st down, picking up 12, moving the ball down the field. You see Daniel right here on a stop route, waits on the ball, able to turn up and pick up the 1st down.
Reggie Slack checking his ready list on his wrist, looking to the sidelines for some help. Out of the shotgun. Looking deep, and he threw that one away. I think he was across the line of scrimmage when he threw it as well.
Well, that's what the officials are indicating. That flag's at the 49-yard line. The line of scrimmage was the 50, and a very critical mistake by the Winnipeg quarterback, Reggie Slack. The officials taking the time to sort this penalty out. It's going to be very critical in the outcome of this ball game.
Al McColeman talking with Matt Finlay, the veteran middle linebacker of the Stampeders. Stockbroker during the offseason, and he told me prior to the game that he's giving some thought to packing it in after
illegal
the season.
forward pass. Winnipeg number 10. The penalty is declined. Second down.
It's a gutsy call by the Calgary defense. Winnipeg is going to go for it if they're short on third down, but to leave them 2 downs to pick up 10 instead of 3 for 20, might have took the latter.
Daniel goes wide left. Boyko again comes out to the right. Slack in behind the center. Slack for Boyko. Boyko gets the first down. He takes it to the 33.
Coach Murphy has commented about Boyko in the past having the best set of hands he's ever had on one of his football teams. That time you saw him cradle the ball in, see where he had to run to pick up the first down, keep the drive alive.
Boyko got his chance to play with the injury to Shannon Baker. He's a versatile performer, playing almost every receiving position. Stiegel on the receiving end of the throw at the 30-yard line. Boyko has also worked on punt return teams and kickoff return teams. With the addition of Baker, Stiegel, and Daniel to the roster, his duties on special teams will probably be limited now.
This has been the biggest challenge thus far this season for both of these teams. For Winnipeg trying to upset the best team in the CFL, and for Calgary to avoid the biggest upset of the season.
40 seconds remaining. 2nd and 5, Winnipeg. Slack throwing deep for Wilcox. It's over his head. 31 seconds left. It will be 3rd and 5. Well, make it actually about 6 yards, Winnipeg.
And that was a very tough call for Winnipeg because you need to pick up the first down, and Slack went for it all on 2nd down, and now it's do or die on 3rd. They fought gallantly all afternoon. Do they have one more gasp in their tank?
Well, it comes down to this. Winnipeg 3rd and 6. The ball is at the 30-yard line. Reggie Slack is in shotgun formation.
And the sun came out.
Will it shine on Slack? He's in trouble. He's going to try and run for a first down. He's got it. 22 seconds remain. And there is still life for this Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense, and a crowd of just under 25,000 at Winnipeg Stadium. Johnston comes out. Pierce goes in for Winnipeg. 22 seconds remain. Winnipeg trailing by 4. The Bombers looking for their 5th win of the year. The Stampeders attempting to avoid only their 2nd loss. Slack throws on the run. It's intended for Daniel. It will be 2nd and 10 from the 23.
Greg Knox making the play from this free safety position, playing center field, one of the better free safeties in the CFL, rolling across, reading the quarterback Slack, making the break on the ball, forcing the incompletion.
15 seconds remaining. 2nd and 10 from the 23. Daniel wide to the left. 3 receivers in that direction. A fake, the pass over the middle, it's intercepted. Picked off by Finlay, and that will do it. The Calgary Stampeders will win their 12th of the year. Finlay is going to take the clock right down to 0 with all his maneuvering, and the Stampeders escape Winnipeg Stadium with their 12th victory of the season. And I'm sure there is a great deal of relief over on the Calgary bench that they were able to survive this one, a game they led 22-7 early and appeared to be all but home and cooled out, but fell behind with a tremendous third-quarter surge directed by Reggie Slack, only to come back in the fourth quarter to win it 43-39. There was a penalty against Calgary on the run back, but obviously with Calgary in possession, the penalty was declined. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with only 4 games remaining, continue to trail Saskatchewan for the 5th and final playoff berth in the North by 2 points. Mark?
Don, I'm standing by with Calgary's victorious quarterback, Jeff Garcia. Jeff, might this be the toughest football game you've played as a starter in the CFL?
I think so. It had to be one of the toughest. They came out and they did a great job defensively. We just fell asleep in the third quarter again, and we can't afford to do that.